Welcome back to the Gnostic Informant. And you woo, woo, are about to attain true gnosis. What's up, everybody? I just decided I wanted to go live. I wanted to talk to everybody and debate all of you guys because you're all a bunch of shit talkers in the comments. So I decided I want to let this, and this will be deleted later. So don't worry about it. You can, if we all embarrass ourselves, it's all good. We're having fun here. Bring up your arguments, or if you just want to have a discussion on something you want to bring to the table, let's do it right here, right now. Open chat, open debate. I don't care if you're Orthodox Christian, if you're a fundamentalist Muslim, you're Shia, you're Sunni, you're a Hindu, you're a Buddhist, you're some sort of Confucianist, Chinese, whatever. I don't care what you are. Let's hear it. Let's hear your worldview. Let's give us your worldview, or challenge some of the things I've been saying in my videos. Because I come with some fire sometimes. I come with some fire that might be too hot for some people to handle. Sometimes I step on people's toes. They don't like it. So if you don't like what I'm saying in my videos, here's your chance to come and show me up. Got my super lemon haze. You know, we're just gelling tonight. So what are you guys up to? Let's see what the chat's saying. I got 70 people here. Glad to see you survived the hurricane so far. That's a good point so far. Because I thought Helene was it. And the next thing I know, 2 days later, we got Milton coming. So I don't know. So far, it might be the right way to approach this thing. Because there might be another one coming. Thanks for the comment. Do you still agree with Rabbi Singer, Neil? Not sure what you mean by that. I've never agreed with Rabbi Singer on everything. So if your answer is, do I agree with him on everything? I never have. Do I agree with Rabbi Singer on messianic stuff when it comes to messianic anything? Like who the Messiah is supposed to be? Is it Jesus? Is it not Jesus? I agree with Rabbi Singer on almost everything in that regard. Do I agree with him on Judaism? No. Him and I have clash heads all the time on this channel. Last time he was on this channel, we talked about the dating of the Torah, where I said it's possibly a Persian period, Hellenistic period text. He goes with the traditional dating, and that's it. We've always had that. We're friends though. Like we don't have to agree to be friends. That's some crazy stuff. If you have to agree with your friends to be friends with them, that's not. You don't want friends like that. That's dogmatist. You don't want that. It's gonna keep you down. If you have to believe in something to be friends with somebody, that's not a friend. That's some dogmatist cultist that you want to get away from. The sooner you get away from that person, the better your life will be. If you ever come across somebody who tells you, if you don't believe in this XYZ, then you're not my friend, that person is a dogmatist, and you got to stay away from them. That's my advice to you today. Let's see what else we got. So I'm thinking about dropping the link to have people join. And I want to, obviously, if you drop a super chat, I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll read it for you. But you don't have to do that. It's up to you guys. I appreciate the donations. I'm thinking about, let's do this. Let's do this. Don't be like, look, I'm going to drop the chat. I'm going to drop the link in the description. You can jump on and talk for a little bit. Make sure you have a decent microphone. If you have a shitty microphone, I'm going to kick you out. Sorry. I can't do that. So the listeners come first. I can't like, you know, it's got to be decent. Make sure you have a decent sound going. If you're on your phone, cool. Just make sure you're not like outside in the wind or in front of a TV. You could do that. I don't care. I don't care about that. I prefer if you have a decent setup, but whatever. if you want to jump on and explain your position on things and what I'm wrong about, the Dark Ages is a good topic. I think the Dark Ages is a legit phrase. Do I use it in historiography? No. Do I think it's still applicable to the Middle Ages? Hell yeah. And anyone who thinks that isn't is an idiot. So challenge me on that. Whatever you want to do. I'm feeling good right now. There is the StreamYard link. I just dropped it into the chat. Jump on in. Also, like I said, if you drop a super chat, I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll read the super chat to you. Let's see what we got going on. So the link is now pinned to the top. So whoever wants to jump on, free game. It's free game right now. So let's read some comments. Stat Enthusiast says, besides rational secular humanism, including deims, I think the best religion for Westerners is to study Buddhism. Ditch Abrahamic cults. Carl Jung would disagree with you. Carl Jung would argue that Westerners have a certain psyche that you cannot replace. No matter how much Buddhism or Hinduism you try to explore, you're always going to be a Greek. You're always going to be a Latin. You're always going to be a Westerner or an African. You're always going to be a European. You're always going to be a Gaul. The West is the West. That's what Carl Jung would argue. However, I think Buddhism is amazing. I think Buddhism has a lot to offer. Obviously, the Buddhism isn't perfect, but from what I've read, I actually have a book here somewhere. Where did I put it? Here it is. Indian Philosophy. This book is awesome. This is a really good book. The East, believe it or not, the East has influenced the West in so many ways. We don't give credit to the East like we should be doing. The Greeks, the Egyptians, the Romans. There's so much borrowing from who they called the gymnosophists, the naked philosophers. Alexander the Great traveling to the East and speaking to the Brahmins, and they would outsage him all day, and they would go, Alexander, you and your armies, you just don't get it. You could go ahead and you could conquer all the lands you want, but it means nothing because as soon as you die, your empire will crumble. And it did. It happened. So there's a lot of wisdom from the East that we like to separate from ourselves, but really we're influenced by them. Anyways, we got some people joining in. Let's go. Mr. Perfect Cell, you're the first person on. There is a line, so we're not going to do it that long, but go ahead, man. The floor is yours, bro. Thanks for jumping on. How you been?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Nice to meet you.
I'm nervous now. This is the first time
You're good. You're good. I know how it is. You're good, man. Chill out. Everything's good. How you been? What you want to bring to the table?
Well, one of the things that the religion I grew up with puts a lot of importance on as a Christian religion, and they set themselves apart as is the Sabbath. You know, I don't know if you've heard about. I'm sure you've heard about the Seventh-day Adventists.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that took me out of that is how they actually antagonize a lot of Jewish beliefs and their rituals. You know, they also use that excuse that, you know, Jesus fulfilled a lot of their rituals from the Old Testament, you know, the Passover, etc. And so they don't follow, Adventists don't follow that, but they follow the Sabbath, and they criticize all other Christian religions as to why they did away with that. And
that's a good point.
I don't know if you've looked into the origins of the Sabbath and the importance of it.
I got to give the super chatter what they need. You know, she wants to see the puppy. She's right by my feet. She's just chilling right by my feet. She likes to still sit by me. I don't make her. I don't force her. She just follows me around. That's just the way it is. And I'm cool with that. Back to what you were saying. The Sabbath. I know there's an argument that Jesus rose on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. Right? He's killed on Friday, rose on Sunday. It's a Kanye West song, by the way. Where's my Chick-fil-A? He says something like that. Anyways, he rose on a Sunday, so therefore they were gonna. Sunday is the new day. The Sabbath was the old day. That's the day of the. But the Seventh-day Adventists raised some really interesting concerns, because why would Moses be told all of this stuff? I mean, there's pages and pages and pages and pages and pages in the Torah about how important the Sabbath is, how that seventh day is the most holy day, and nobody can mess with this holy day. And then all of a sudden, they just change it. So the argument that because Jesus rose on Sunday, they need to change this to this is the new day, is like, so what? God changed his mind? Is that what you're trying to tell me? So I think the Seventh-day Adventists are onto something here. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm currently not religious, but that's one of the things that bring my attention to the Seventh-day Adventists. Their argument is that it's exactly that. They put so much importance of it on the Old Testament, and their thought about Jesus is they do talk about all the miracles he performed on Sabbath as a way of going against the way that Jewish view the Sabbath as too strict. But he did rest on the Sabbath. He died on Friday, he rested the Sabbath, and he rose on Sunday. Therefore, he observed the Sabbath even on his death, and he never said he did away with it. He never said that to forget about the Sabbath, is what they say.
You got it. You sold me, bro. Like, if Jesus really wanted to replace the Sabbath with his own special day, why wouldn't he just say so? He never explicitly tells anybody, by the way, I'm going to rise on Sunday, and that will be the holiest day. By the way, speaking about Sunday, the Mithraic mysteries held Sunday as a special day, the day of the sun. You had Saturn's day, right? You had Aphrodite's day, which is Friday. You had these different days of the week. But the Sunday, Soul's Day, was a special day. And it turns out that at the time when the Christians sort of changed over from the Sabbath to Sunday was also around the same time where these Mithraic Sol Invictus worshipers were venerating Sunday. It fit perfectly. It was a great move. It was a great chess move to make for the Christian aristocracy to sort of convert their day over to this Sunday. And how convenient was it for them that Jesus rose on that day? That they gave them the insurance to go ahead and purify this Sunday, right? That's the first day of the week. The seventh day, the Sabbath, is the last day of the week. The Genesis tells us that God rested on the seventh day. So if Jesus is going to just cancel all this Torah, all these pages and pages and pages of things not to do and to do on the Sabbath, we're just going to cancel that. God's just going to change his mind. You would think Jesus himself would say, this is what's going to happen. I know you guys kept the Sabbath for all this time, and I really appreciate that. However, we're going to move over to this day, Sunday now. He doesn't do that. So the Seventh-day Adventists, y'all got my blessing. I think you guys have a good point. I think your argument's strong, and I think you have the winning argument as far as what's the holy day? It's Saturn's day, right?
Saturn's day, Zeus' day.
Is that all you want to bring today, man? I appreciate it.
Well, I would like to know what the importance and origin is of the Sabbath, if you can go into that.
That's a really complicated issue. The Babylonians. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say I'm not an expert in this, but I've read into this a little bit. The Babylonians, the word Shabbat in Babylonian means, I think it means full moon. Let me look this up. So I don't get it wrong. Shabbat.
Babylonians.
So the Shabbat originally arose from the lunar cycle in the Babylonian calendar, containing 4 weeks ending in Sabbath. Okay. The There's a word in Babylonian for that means Shabbat. It means let me look this up for you before I let you go. And that's where I think the origin of this word comes from. I've talked about this in some of my videos, but I think it had something to do with the moon. And so let me just find this real quick. All right. So Babylonian full moon holiday was called Sabbatu. So I was right. The word Sabbath comes from this Babylonian word Sabbatu. It means full moon. So it wasn't necessarily every 7 days. It was a monthly thing. And on this full moon day, there was some significance. I don't know if they stopped working. That I don't know off the top of my head. But if anyone's watching and they want to look into this more, I would say look into the Babylonian full moon monthly holiday called the Sabbatu. Also, keep in mind, a lot of times in the Old Testament, when the Sabbath is mentioned, there's some sort of lunar thing mentioned beside it. Like there's always some sort of like full moon, the Sabbath. You'll see what I mean when you look into it. Just look into it. This is me on the top of my head right now. I'm not an expert. Just going off what's in my head right now. But the Sabbath and the full moon in Babylonian times have something going on. That's all I can really go with right now off the top of my head. I haven't looked into it in a while, so that's as far as I can go. But if anyone wants to go deeper, look up Sabbatu Babylonian full moon holiday, and you'll see there's some Sabbath origins happening there. So,
thank you.
Hey man,
yeah, I'd like to look into that. Very much.
It was cool to have you on. I got a couple people. Brandon's waiting next, Dylan, then Master Twister, and hey man, jump on next time. Every time I do this, it was cool having you on. What's your name again?
My real name's Wesley.
Wesley, nice meeting you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Hey, Brandon, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great.
Okay.
Lavender and Lemons, thank you for the $1 super chat. And I appreciate those super chats always. But go ahead. What's on your mind, Brandon?
Give him all your money, people. He's doing great. No, man, I've been watching you for a while. And actually the last show you did with Adam Green, it was kind of the thing that made me leave Christianity, I guess, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah, y'all are both, I mean, y'all were going back and forth. I think I commented on it.
Wait, was that when I went live? Like one of these kind of these one was like
I think it was on Break the Rules or something like that, or with
okay, I got you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do a whole lot, and I do this thing. I can just show you real quick. But I do have a question before I do all that. And so basically, do you think there's I don't know if there's a world conspiracy or if people at the highest level, but you research Judaism, you research Greek. I believe Greek and Judaism are related, and I actually have this theory that basically Judaism was a Greek religion, and I think I've heard Amon and you say something about this essentially, but I think it came from Athens. Like if you read basically all the characters, everything that happened comes from Athens, and it's something that I've been really looking into, but I've been building this mind map and I've been sending it out to everyone. I'm 500,000 articles in, and it looks like kind of like this. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
so you got some research going on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, like Babylonian astronomy. So there's 500,000 of these little things that I'm clicking in here, and I work on this, and I've added all your stuff in there, and I think you're onto something. And I really I'm making all these connections. And it stays as a data point. So, and it's not something that can be erased. And I think you need to stay on this path. And I'm worried about your safety in a way. I'm not trying to say there's a world conspiracy, but definitely, obviously be careful and be kind about it. I love Jewish people. I have no issue with them. I have issue with Christian people. But I love Adam Green, but he goes about it kind of hard, and you go about it a little on the other way. Right. So yeah, basically my idea though is the tefillin they wear. You were just talking about the Sabbath and Saturn. The tefillin is a black cube. and I'm sure you've researched this. I'm sure, but that relates in the whole Kaaba, the Kaaba and the Kabbalah, and there's something to do with the black cube and this Saturnian worship. And if you read, they have the now modern day, they say there's the thing on the top of Saturn or whatever that's shaped the same way. Anyway, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was listening. But you have in Sancho Nathan's account of the Phoenician history, you have El equated with Saturn or Kronos. So there is some precedent here about Saturn and Kronos and El being sort of merged together at some point. But what I think you're getting at, as far as my research goes, because me and Adam have different ways of looking at this thing. Definitely.
He's a great guy, though. I can tell he's a
he's more into the political side of this. He's more into the day-to-day events. I'm looking at the ancient history of the religion of Judaism itself, which is, this is something that other Jewish people have looked into, and it's not like some dangerous, like I'm not in trouble for this. But anyways, my point is the religion that we call Judaism, I think, is a Hellenistic religion.
Yes.
I'm not the only one who thinks this. Obviously, I've had guests on this channel who are experts who have way more knowledge than I do, who have on the ground archaeological digs, can argue this better than I could. So I'm in good hands when I come to this argument. But my thoughts are that when you look at the evidence, archaeological evidence, the textual primary source evidence of what was the religion of the place we call Canaan or Israel or Judea or Jezreel or the Levant,
right,
or that part, that little strip of the Mediterranean on the East Coast. What you see a very normal polytheistic Mediterranean religion, just like everyone else, up until the 3rd century BC. There's a trigger.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's this push for one religion. There's this push for for the Torah, for observing the Torah. And it seems to happen after the Alexander's conquest.
Yeah.
And so my big thing is Elephantine.
And there's the letter too to Alexander. I think that basically, or I think it was from Alexander. Basically, he was saying that he worships the God of the Jews, and
there was a story in it's in the Greek Alexander romance, by the way.
I have it on my brain here.
You must have found that. Yeah, that's an interesting text that you brought up. It's in the Greek Alexander romance where there's so the Greek Alexander romance is another rolling text. There's an old archaic version that probably starts with Ptolemy I, where it's probably a short story about Alexander the Great coming to Egypt, becoming the son of God, conquering Babylon, and then probably Ptolemy was like the next heir or something. There's probably some sort of like story that brings Ptolemy into the fold. But then you get layers added and added and added. You get Syriac versions, you get different Greek added versions, you get like A, B, C, they call these different layers A, B, C, D, and E, and F.
Yeah.
There's the F. The F layer is like 7th century AD. So they're still adding layers all the way into the 7th century AD. That's how much of a rolling text the Alexander Romance is. But there's a part in the Alexander. There's one of the layers of the Alexander Romance from I think 2nd century AD, post-Christian, made by the Christians. Maybe it's even later than that. It might be 3rd or 4th. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. In this particular version of the Alexander Romance, they have Alexander coming to the Jews.
Yeah.
He sees the Jewish priests and he goes, "Oh, you guys look like gods. You guys look like gods." And he's freaked out by the Levites. So scholars are like, this did not happen. There's nowhere the sources has this ever happened.
I think it might have just the Mithraic stuff, the Mithraic connection. I have this theory that I think most of these Greek rulers were probably Jewish. So like Hebrew was the liturgical language the same way that I think Latin is the liturgical language for like English speakers.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I just think there's a connection there, and I haven't proved it all, but I have taken tons of notes, and I'm still having to. This is a thing I work on every day. It's 8 hours a day. I'm an air traffic controller, previously in the Air Force for 10 years, so that my brain is always going a million miles a minute. But it's something that there's a connection there, and I've seen like a bunch of the wives and stuff. They're like Jewish. If you research into some of the rulers, like Augustus, I think like his mom or somebody.
So Nero's wife was a God-fearer. She was like a supporter of the Jews. You also have Severan dynasty,
and Constantine was supposedly like a Jew.
Yeah, before this is 100 years before Constantine. 125 years before Constantine. Julia Mamaea in the second around year 200 AD.
Julia Mamaea? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's another royal empress of the Roman Empire.
Julia
Mamaea.
Okay.
Add that to your database.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, the point that I was making before was a lot of these added stories they're trying to rewrite history to make this is what I've noticed throughout my entire research since I started Gnostic Informant. When it comes to stories that put the Jews first, I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. Like the example of Alexander the Great walking into Jerusalem and going, "Oh my God, the Levites, they look like gods." Yeah. All of these stories are way later and they backdate themselves to try to like rewrite history.
So, well, you just saw the Christopher Columbus thing today or yesterday.
I've heard rumors from real serious scholars saying that I've been hearing this for years about Columbus possibly being Jewish. So when this came out, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked. I didn't care. I already heard this before. So
Adam Green said he doesn't believe it tonight. He said, I was watching a show like an hour ago, and he said, I was like, what? How do you not believe that? But to me,
I don't care. I'm not on team Jewish or team first Jew. I'm on team. What does the history say? What do the sources say?
And you're a truth teller, man. That's why I think your show is awesome. You're like
I run from dogma. If your dogma is we got to make the Jews look good, I run away from you. If your dogma is we got to make the Jews look bad, I run away from you.
Amen.
I don't care what side you're on. This is all nonsense. I'm on the side of what do the sources say? What are the facts on the ground? What makes the most sense?
Yeah.
So the idea that there's no Hebrew never existed. Nonsense. Stop it. You're a dogmatist.
And then the other thing,
being truthful to yourself. The other side of the fence is Hebrews just the Hebrews came along in the 800s. And they were so smart, and everybody followed them. And the Greeks copied the Hebrews. That's all nonsense too,
right?
Yeah, the evidence is the opposite. Anyways, I'm just pointing out my position is not to defeat anybody. I'm not on any side. I'm just looking at this stuff from a complete objective standpoint. That's it.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's a beautiful thing. And I do want to ask one thing because I know other people are waiting. So have you read like in the Talmud and basically they predicted
Talmud's a lot of text. That's a lot of text right there.
I have all of it. I have all of it. So the it's all in here. The 9/11. So it predicted 9/11, and I have all of that information. Yeah, you can go research. There's even more than that prediction.
Really, you really think the Talmud predicted 9/11?
100%.
100. Can you explain this in a 2-minute? Or is this going to take too long?
No, I'll just pull it up on my thing. I mean, it's right here. I can just explain it to you. I have.
Okay. Let's see what you got.
So 9/11 Zohar. It's actually Zohar. I said.
You know how to share your screen?
I can. Let me see if I can turn.
If you don't want to, you don't have to. You don't. I
don't mind. I don't mind. I just don't know how to turn the camera around on this deal.
No, it's on the bottom. It says present. Do you see where it says present or no? You're on your phone?
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Oh, forget it. You're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I can, and I can give you all a link. I have links. It's gallimore.cloud is HTTPS gallimore.cloud.
Can you just explain it real quick? And I'll.
So basically, yeah. So in the Kabbalah, it says 9/11 Forum right here. Essentially, they predict great walls will fall. We'll show you, and it says the Zohar says, "I will show you, but not for now. These things will only come to be at the time, some after time, and some of the days of the King Mashiach. A star has gone forth from Jacob." Da 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 da. So on the 23rd of Elul, which is one of their months, I'm sure that you've read about all that. 5761, 5761, Anu Mundi, which is their year layout, their system. September 11th is the equivalent of that day. That's the day that is predicted. You can, and I'm sure if you go to everyone, stop using Google. Start using the
month
index.
of Elul is August/September. So what I mean by that is the lunar calendar starts off about halfway through our solar calendar.
Yeah.
So the month of Elul will start around August 15th, roughly.
Yeah.
Vary to September 15th.
Yep. The 23rd.
You said it was what day?
The 23rd of Elul, 5761, and it splits the day. It splits the day almost perfectly. And
that's close. I'm not gonna lie. Off the top of my head, that is close.
Yeah, and it says that it talks about the two towers, and then
no way. Are you serious?
And if you research it, it says Solomon, and the Solomon Bank was the third tower that fell because everyone always thinks.
How come the conspiracy theorist heads haven't got onto this yet? This is you should be all over the place.
I don't know. I think I'm one of the first people to be figuring this stuff out because I'm.
Well, don't tell everyone. Don't keep this for yourself. Make a video. Go viral, bro.
I don't want to. I mean, I'd rather share. I would rather come on with you again sometime and
talk. Do you really think that's possible? That there's a prophecy about 9/11? Because I don't believe that.
100%. 100. There's not a doubt in my mind. I've done like I said.
Let me ask you just real quick to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
23rd of Elul. Off the top of my head. That does fall roughly around the 10th.
It's I think 11th to the 12th. It might it's either 11th to the 12th or the 10th to the 11th.
But keep in mind the solar and lunar calendars don't line up perfectly, so it could be
right.
But that is interesting. Now I don't know when this text was written. I have no idea what text you're even talking about.
The Zohar. The Zohar. It's either predicted in 1200s, the 1400s. Some people say it's Ignatius.
The Zohar is medieval.
Yeah, some people say it's Ignatius of Loyola. Somebody says it's the guy that was supposed to be influenced by. I forgot his name just now. But
you got my email?
No, I need it. I have all your info on here though, and I'll add it to my.
Just neilselnick2@gmail.com. That's my public email. I would love to see what you have. It'd be interesting to see what you have.
I'll send it to you.
Keep in mind, I'm going to be very critical of you. I'm not going to
be critical. Be critical.
I like your attitude.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I was an air traffic controller.
Send me what you got. I'll look at it.
I was an air traffic controller for 10 years. That we have to, and if you know what that job entails, you have to study like legal books to control planes. I was a radar controller. I wasn't a tower flower. I also want to promote my band. I'm in a band called Under the Gallows. I'm the vocalist. And
what is it called?
Under the Gallows. It's all just different words. It's just spelled just like it sounds. Under the Gallows. I'm also the vice president.
I in the chat for you.
Yeah, I'm also the vice president of a company called FCK Hollywood. We're about to release a new show called Bandmates. We have another show out called Patio Shays. They're both on Amazon, or at least the new one's about to be on Amazon. But I figured
Los Gallows Band? Is that Los Gallows Band? That's not
it. Under the Gallows. We're everywhere on YouTube.
Are you a website or no?
No, I mean, all right. I'm terrible at promoting myself. You're great at promoting yourself, so good on you, man.
Listen, send me what you got. I'll take a look at it, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. It's fun. Don't take it all too serious. Don't get mad at the Jews that are living today.
No, I love.
Some guy at 1200 AD wrote something down.
I called on Tobias Singer's show last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Cool.
I don't have any.
I like your mentality as somebody digging into these texts, but also being kind of a conspiracy theorist mindset, but keeping it cool, keeping it like not too serious. I wish people would be more flexible that way.
Yeah, we all need to be open-minded.
Not every single person living who's Jewish gets a check in the mail from the Rothsteins saying, "Shh, we're going to take over the world."
Yeah,
don't worry. Like it's just not a thing.
My bunkmate in the military in basic was a Jewish guy, and he ended up being the top guy. I was the number 2 guy because he was a badass motherfucker, and he's a still Special Forces Air Force guy. So I have no issues with it, no one based on any generalization.
But if you found a text from the Talmud, even if it's Zohar medieval, and it predicts that some buildings are going to fall, and it says Elul 23rd, and that falls on that would be interesting. I'm not going to lie. I'll admit that's very interesting.
I have a lot more than that. I've been doing this I'm 35, so I've been doing it. I've probably been researching crazy shit like you have for years. I know you said you went to Yeah, so I was in the Air Force, kind of like a version of prison. I went to Korea for almost 4 years, didn't see anywhere else. I just stayed there, and I didn't get to come home, and it was like a version of prison over there. And I
Of
just
course, man. Yeah,
researched.
it's
So.
good to have. It's good. So you know what it's like to be in your own mind for a while. It's
Oh, dude,
good
that's
to
where I
be
live.
It's
Yeah,
good,
that's
it's
where I
good to
live.
be like Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days. you and I both know that. So,
Yeah.
all right, man, it was cool meeting you. I'll catch you next time. All right.
Yes, sir. I'll send you an email too. Y'all, everyone have a good one. Everyone, give him some money.
All right, man. Have a good one. Dylan, let me read these super chats out real quick, and then I got you next, man. Thanks for waiting. Garth McKeel with the $5 from Canada says, if we discovered a complete copy of the Q document, what would be different from the accepted New Testament? Well, first of all, it would just be sayings. It would be like the parables of Jesus. I wouldn't be surprised if something like Thomas existed before the Thomas that we have right now, which would be called Q. Because remember, Q isn't a real text. Q is just taking the material that was within Mark, Matthew, and Luke that has in common and saying, well, if you look at other historical texts that are reproduced, like the sayings of Socrates or the sayings of Pythagoras is a great example. There's like 5 different life of Pythagoras texts. Iamblichus writes one, Porphyry writes one. There's a couple other guys that write the life of Pythagoras, and they have literature in common. So when you read the life of Pythagoras, you're reading an older version of a story. There's an archaic layer in there somewhere. But Plotinus, Porphyry, and Iamblichus add their own stuff to the text. So there's an older layer of that, and there's newer layers of that. Q is the same thing. When you're reading, when you talk about the Gospels, Q has, or Luke, Matthew, Mark have literature in common, particularly the parables of Jesus. And people think that there was probably a text that preceded those documents called Q. That's it. Thank you for that super chat. And Damon, thank you for the $9.99. I appreciate that as well. And I think we are caught up. But Dylan, what's on your mind, man?
All right, hey man. So I'll try to mute my my thing so we don't echo here. I'll do my best.
Go ahead.
So I'm not sure I'm trying to debate you. I just got like a list of questions. I scrolled down over here, so I'll like try to cover like the shorter ones first.
Let me just say this real quick. Complicier, Gnostic, and Hillman on Joe Rogan in 2024. Who knows? Thank you for that. Go ahead, man.
All right, cool. So just like a real quick question. So we know like Augustus Caesar, right? He was like deified after he died. So
Oh yeah, big time.
So do you think like these Greek gods may have been deified kings? Because I know you're telling a story how Hermes and Apollo and Dionysus went on their journey, and Hermes was the king of Egypt. So do you think like there's a potential that these gods are just deified kings?
Euhemerus thought that was the case. Euhemerus was a Greek author from the 4th century BCE who thought that Zeus lived on the island of Crete sometime in the distant past. And he even says that there was a tomb for Zeus in a cave in Crete. That cave still exists today. People still go there all the time. People do think that there was a cave where Zeus was buried. There are others, Diodorus of Sicily, for example, who thinks that Dionysus was actually a person who went to India and fought wars and came back. Do I think that's the case? No, I don't. I don't think that's the case, but I don't think it's impossible that at some point deep in the Copper Age, remember, you have the Stone Age, then there's the Copper Age, then there's the Bronze Age. That's where writing starts happening. And then there's the Iron Age, Classical period, Hellenistic period, and so forth. Do I think it's possible at some point in the deep Copper Age that there was famous figures that were deified and some of the life events got intermixed in the mythology? Yes. I think that's very, very likely, actually. So I would say that.
Okay, cool. So the next one I had was, you mentioned this. Let's just say there are a couple Revelations questions. Okay, so the first one is like, you say you worked out your numerology thing with the Hebrew numbers, right? So just asking like why.
Gematria?
Just asking why you used Hebrew numbers instead of Greek numbers if it's a Greek text, because it's definitely Greek text because it's New Testament. No one's arguing that, right?
Mhm.
So like, why are we using Hebrew numbers for a Greek text?
You're talking about for Nero's Gematria?
Yeah.
They actually use the Greek. Because Gematria, this is a cool question. Gematria did not come from the Hebrews. Gematria is a Greek word. That's where we get the word geometry from. That is a Pythagorean invention. And this is another thing. I have a video coming out soon showing the Pythagoreans not only invented gematria, but they invented monotheism. I got a video coming out about that. It's coming out soon. But back to what you said. They actually do use the Greek counting system, but for some reason, they use the Hebrew spelling of Nero. So let me look this up for you real quick, just to get it right for you. Nero, Gematria, 666. But I will say this, though. They don't always use the Hebrew. It's mostly the Greek. The number of the beast. Here we go. Let me share my screen. This is a Wikipedia page, but I'm just going to share my screen real quick. So how they calculate the number of the beast. So affirmed the number 666 reported scribal errors, blah, 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 blah. The 616 comes in the Latin side, right? We all know that. That's not like some major thing. But
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Well, you jumped to okay. We
This is it right here.
We changed the number from 666 to 616, and I
Yeah.
feel like we just glossed that over. And
Yeah, no. This is what happens in the Latin Bible. So Jerome's Bible, the Latin Vulgate, when they talk about the number of the beast, they actually don't write 666 in that Bible. They write 616. Because in Latin, when they change the numerology of the name of Nero Kaiser, it becomes 616. So,
but in the original Greek, it was like words written out, not numerals, right? And it was like the Greek word for 666. That's
right here. It's right here.
Yeah.
Xakisoisi DKX. That's the
No, that's 616.
616. So that manuscript is probably drawing from the Latin. But this is an interesting point that you're bringing up. Why is some 616? Why is 616? As I said, some people pointed out that the Latin side adds up to 616. The Greek side ends up to 666. But I want to, before I let you go, I want to make sure I find this so we could do the math real quick ourselves. We can just look at it ourselves.
Well,
So
I'm
here's
not even sure it's worth it at this point. It seems like they're just making shit up here, like
why do you say that?
well, they're just picking whatever number they feel like adds up to the best. Like, it's like it's not, you got to stick all within one system instead of moving it around. And I don't know.
Well, no, that would be really hard to do, though. That would be really hard to get Nero's name.
Greeks invented all the math. So
They
like,
did. They did.
And the text was written in Greek. Why wouldn't we just use Greek? Like,
it's very look. Let me show you something real quick. I agree with you. It's very complex. It's very confusing. But check this out. Here's Nero, Nun, Resh, Vav, Nun, Neron, 550, 206, 5. All right. Kov.
Letters, right? Like,
I know. When you add them up, using the same system that the Greeks invented, you're right. The Greeks invented gematria. It's a Pythagorean system.
well,
They're borrowing their system, and for some reason they're interpreting plugging in the numbers through the Hebrew side. Do you ask me why? I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just, here's an even more basic question. It's like, why does this Hebrew symbol equal 200? That's not even explained very well.
they have the whole. Let me show you this. I'll show you this right now.
Because here, I got my book here, my math book. So,
Jewish gematria. Like they're this is actually well known.
I got my Greek numbers here, just for reference.
Yeah, the Jewish gematria calculator. See it right here? 200 Vav. Here it is right there. Or it is. It's the same letter, Vav. I just saw it. So it doesn't change. There's not like a different, you can't find a different Jewish gematria calculator other than this one. There's only one. That I do know. That's actually a really good question what you brought up. I actually like where you're going with that thought. You're saying, how do we know these numbers even equal the letters? Fucking amazing question. If you can find me a chart from some ancient author.
I just showed you one right here.
Oh, go ahead. Show me. That's a different. So you have, where's the 200 at? That's Greek, bro. That's Greek.
Well, yeah, that was my point. It's Greek.
Oh, so the Greek has a different. The Greek has it, obviously, because it's Greek. You can't make the exact same one.
Well, you can write Nero in Greek, and then
you can. And you can write Nero and Kaiser in Greek.
Well, I mean, it's like, that's what I don't understand. It's like, why are we mixing all of these?
You want to know why? Because the Christians are trying to appease the Hebrews. They're trying to be Jewish. You understand what I'm saying? Here. I found the Hebrew Nero Kaiser 616. Here it is right here. Oh, that doesn't have the Hebrew. Yeah, it does have the Hebrew, but it has the Greek for Jesus, so it doesn't matter. The Jesus. So you're right. Okay, let me give you a point here. When they do this is so funny what you're saying. This is actually a really good point. When they do the gematria for Jesus, you think they use Hebrew? Jesus, Masiach? They don't. They use the Greek for Jesus. Jesus Christos. And that adds up to 888. So for some reason, the author of Revelation thought, for whatever reason, he wanted to add Hebrew letters and use the Hebrew system to come up with 666. Why? I don't know. The only reason why I believe that is because in the Latin version, they use the same system in Hebrew, but because the name Neron is not the same in Latin as Nero. Neron is Greek, Nero is Latin. It loses some value, it becomes 616. So that to me tells me that they're following the system perfectly in the Hebrew side. But you have a good point that you're bringing up, because
I'll say new is 50. Okay, it is 50. I just looked it up. It's 50. So that does make sense. You'd lose 50. So.
Yes, exactly. New, they lose the new, it becomes 616. See, you see what I'm saying now? So that to me tells me that they're following the Hebrew for Nero. Why? I don't know. The author of Revelation decided that. But for Jesus Christ, they don't follow Hebrew. They follow the Greek. Jesus Christos. 888. They do not follow Yeshua Mashiach. So what you're bringing to the table right now is a very valid point. Why are we going? Why is it Hebrew here? Why is it Greek here? I agree with you. If you could figure that out, man, you're onto something.
Okay, cool. I just got okay. Since we're on Nero, I'll just throw out my Nero question here. So okay, you mentioned Poppaea just a minute ago, right?
Poppaea? Yeah, Nero's wife.
Yeah. Okay, right. So then after she died, he found a slave boy, castrated him, married him, and made him the new Poppaea, right? He called her Poppaea, right? So you could say
a eunuch. It was a eunuch.
Right, but I mean he called her Poppaea and he dressed her up.
He actually gave you what was the name of the eunuch? Sporus. He actually gave Sporus the same bath that Poppaea was using. Poppaea had this regimen where she would bathe in milk and poppy, and she would lay in the bath, and Sporus was a eunuch, took on the entire role of Poppaea. It was, as you said, it was literally a new Poppaea. This is Nero. This is Nero's stuff right here.
Okay, so okay, here's what I'm going. That's like a definite trans thing, right? Like,
Of course.
Yeah,
Oh, if it was
so
today,
hard proof.
if we were living in today, I'm going to say this with full confidence. Most people say you shouldn't make this call. I'm going to make the call. Sporus would be trans today. There's not. We wouldn't call Sporus a eunuch today. Sporus was presenting herself as a woman in the time of Nero, for sure, 100%.
Okay.
And by the way, people have to hear this. Sporus was the empress, officially by law, was the empress of the Roman Empire.
Okay, so that was the easy one. Okay, now
Yeah.
what do you think about the other side of it, where Nero got married as the wife? You know, he was the wife in the other marriage.
Was his name Hippolytus or something?
Yeah, and then that one was
So-
like back
So
when the
Nero
Jews-
took one of his slaves. His name was Hippolytus. This is in Suetonius. This slave, random slave, Nero decided, because he's Nero, he can do whatever he wants. He's the Caesar. He do whatever he wants. He decided that he wanted to be a woman, and he wanted to get married to his slave Hippolytus, and he took on the role of the female. He became the queen of Rome. This actually happened.
Right. So would you say that Nero's pronouns were they?
And that particular day, yes. But Nero from day to day was changing every day.
Okay. So we've covered this, right? So now, okay.
I love these topics, man. Keep
All
them
right,
coming.
so when people are going back and talking shit about Nero, do you think that's why? I mean, they're just
Yes. The same way Elagabalus gets hated by the aristocracy in later times. They do not like this type of behavior as the Roman emperor. Hell yeah, you're on. That's not even a question.
yeah, I'm doing the Trump weave here, man. It's all gonna come
Go ahead.
together.
Go ahead.
All right, so now, okay, so then we know that like Nero commits suicide or whatever, right? And like, well, you know, we don't know that, but like that's
He's forced to end his life due to his time is up. His
Well, they claim Cleopatra essentially did the same thing, and it's like asterisk. Did they? You know,
there were rumors. I mean, I know where you're going with this. There's the Sibylline oracles. The Sibylline books had coded language within it saying that Nero was going to return from the dead. But now there was rumors that this was all mythology and that Nero was still alive, and that he was hiding out in Parthia. Because believe it or not, Nero was so powerful that he had support all the way in the east in Afghanistan.
yeah,
he
people loved him, right?
People loved
like,
him.
All the history we get now says he's like the worst emperor. People hated him, but no.
No,
like, people
if you
loved-
actually read the sources, though, that's the Christian sources. If you actually read the primary Roman sources, Nero spent tons of money on the people, public parks, recreation, gymnasiums, theaters. He built it all. He was building places. He was giving back to the people. People loved Nero. The Christian aristocracy hated Nero. They said that he blamed them for the fires, that he caused the fires. They rewrote history in their own way, basically. But you're
So he
right.
didn't do the fire. You're on board, but he didn't do the fire.
I don't think he did the fire.
Okay. So, but you're right. They think he's going to get resurrected, right? And so we
Yeah.
covered the deification of like these emperors and stuff, right? So
Yeah,
like,
let me pull that up for everybody so they can see it. This is just once again. By the way, Mr. Twisted, you're next. Don't worry, I got you next. We got a couple more things. This is some interesting topics. So the Nero Redividius legend was a popular belief about the first century that the Roman Emperor Nero would return after his death in 68 AD. The legend was common belief as late as the 5th century. Damn. So this is like another Antichrist figure, obviously. This is why the 666 makes more sense to me. This adds to the whole allure that he's the anti-Jesus. because they think he's going to come back, and the Christians think Jesus is going to come back. They're all waiting for who's going to come back. But anyways, here's where it comes from. Several variations of the legend exist, playing on both hope of Nero's return. The earliest written version of this legend is found in the Sibylline Oracles, as I mentioned. It claims that Nero did not really die, but fled to Parthia, where he would amass a large army and return to Rome to destroy it. Dio Chrysostom, I hate that guy. I can't stand that guy. He's like an ancient version of he's like an ancient Dan McClellan douchebag. Greek philosopher historian wrote, seeing that even now everybody wishes Nero was still alive, and the great majority do believe that he still is. Although in a certain sense he has died not once, but often along with those who had been firmly convinced that he was still alive. Augustine of Hippo wrote that some believe he now lives in concealment in the vigor of the same age which he had reached when he was believed to have perished, and will live until he is revealed in his own time and restored to his kingdom. In the latter forms of the legend among early Christians, this legend shifted to a belief that Nero was the Antichrist. Some Bible scholars see the description of the wounding and healing of the beast in Revelation and the mention of the eighth king, who was one of the earlier 7 kings, as allusions to Nero Redivivius legend. So there you go. There's the lore right there.
Well, so here's what I was gonna spin that a little bit and say, like, do you think that the Christians just co-opted it and Nero is literally Jesus?
Whoa! You think that the Christianity was a religion about Nero, and that got caught?
Well,
that's a little too much.
Okay, you know what Almond was saying, right? With the Sindoin boy, right? Dude, Nero would be down for like drinking some Sindoin boys. Like,
so you think it was
the whole story is just Nero, and they like replaced it with Jesus or something, like, because when did they come out? Like, they came out after Nero, didn't they? Like all of them.
The Gospels
after Nero, right?
Everything was after Nero.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Hey, pursue it. Go and write a peer-reviewed paper on this. See what happens.
And can I make a Dan McClellan comment? Just because.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, like, well, you know how like Christianity was a cult, doing like crazy stuff. That's essentially what you're talking about all the time.
Yeah,
right? The original Christians, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like the original FLDS, right? Now we're going back and looking at the FLDS, and we're like, hey, these guys are a cult. But like 200 years ago, that was the original. They were the OGs.
They were the OGs.
You were supposed to do it. So you think Dan is so good at this because he lives in like the modern version where this is like currently playing out. Like they're rewriting their religion to make it a state religion instead of like the actual religion that it was originally founded to be.
Yeah, that's what Christianity's been doing. That's why it survives this long. It molds itself to the times. Right now, look at the Pope. Look at the Pope trying to be all pro-gay, LGBT and stuff. That's what the fucking this monster church does. That's why you get Dan McClellan's trying to say that, hey, actually the Bible's pro-gay and it's anti-abortion, it's this and that, and this and that, and this, or pro-abortion, this, and it's very liberal. And the prophets of the Old Testament were social justice warriors. Like, I don't blame them, because how are you going to survive if you don't do that? What else are you going to do? You're going to sink. You're going to be a sinking ship, or are you going to float? You want to float. You're going to do it somehow. So that's my thoughts on that. That's how Christianity's always survived. Every time, if you look at every century, whether it's the 9th century or the 15th century or the 17th century, and then you look at what Christians were doing in that time period, you'll see they were fucking slick. They were jumping on the boat that was the highest, that was the most. They were getting off the sinking ship and going to the other ship that was bigger. That's what they've always been doing. That's what Christians been doing since day one. That's how they took over the Roman Empire. So that's that. But it was cool having you on, Dylan. I'll definitely I'll talk to you next time for sure. Is that all you want to say?
Well, just since I got one more second here, what is your favorite opera based on a Greek or Roman story? Or
I have no idea. I'm not an opera guy, but I would love to get into opera. I've always been fascinated by the opera. I'm just not. I grew up not that rich to be able to get into opera, so unfortunately, I don't know anything about it. But it's very. I have nothing bad to say about it. I would love to get into it. So that's something I might look into.
Well, check out the Coronation of Poppaea.
Oh, all right. That's the first one I'll watch then. How about that? All right, Dylan. It was cool having you on. Keep it real. Talk to you later. Mr. Twister, let me just read these super chats real quick. Catch up to the people that drop some money, and we'll get you on next. Gnostic and Hellman, I already read this one, but thanks for dropping that one. I appreciate it. S. Mill, I think the crucifixion and resurrection went back to the oral period 45 CE. So why would there be sayings only Q? We don't have those sayings, by the way. So we don't. Q is just a made up restoration. So whether the crucifixion happened and there's an oral period, well, no one's doubting that. I don't doubt that either. So there's really, I don't know how to answer that question. There's just people are just guessing on what the sayings of Jesus are. That's all it is. But it's a good question though. The occult coroner in the house. Shout out to Gnostic Catholic Union. Thanks for that super chat. Appreciate that, bro. Good seeing you here as always. And I think that might be all. Let me see. Yes. Go ahead, man. What do you got?
All right. Well, first of all, very, very quick. Do I need to join the elite club of guests who show their face, or should I hide behind an avatar?
I prefer you show your face. I think so.
Yeah, whatever.
I think it's only right. Oh, where'd you go? I lost you. There must have been a glitch. Hey, man, come right back if you fix your camera. If not, go ahead, just talk.
I think what I did is when I select don't allow camera, I think trying to allow camera will break everything.
All right, go ahead. Forget it.
Okay, so basically, anyone who wants to see my face, it's not ordinary in games. That's my YouTube channel. My face is not important. But anyway, first of all, I want to get this out of the way. Nero was a wacky dude.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Very interesting character. Very nepo baby. Very much a nepo baby.
Yeah. Believe it or not, there's actually a very simple and dare I say secular explanation to why the Kaaba looks like the South Pole of Saturn. But I will not mention it today. Okay. What is your email again? I'll send it later.
neilsenlek2@gmail.com.
Neil,
you want to jump in the chat real quick?
Neil,
it's on my channel.
If you post it in this chat, the whatchamacallit, StreamYard chat, I'll just write it down.
Got it. Send it.
Okay, so my main point is I wanted to rant about a certain feature of I think Christianity. Maybe someone came up with it first, but it drives me up the wall. Basically, there's this idea, you know it, that the human mind is imperfect, it's fallible, it is limited. I am on board with that. The problem is some theologians take it too far, and it's basically if you try to understand either the world or God or things, your mind is so imperfect that you cannot do that. What you can do is believe the real truth, which is God's truth, which is perfect, and that truth comes from the priest, it comes from the book, but you cannot think. No. If you think, you're using your flawed brain to understand the world, and you'll come to the wrong conclusions. And what makes sense to you doesn't matter because you're using your flawed mind, and it's a lie anyway.
Sounds like some presuppositional shit.
Well, let's just say it's very popular in a certain.
It's very popular in Orthodox Catholic circles. I've heard this argument before. Basically, it's like your thinking is flawed, so you might as well follow the divine authority of the church. because they got it all figured out and they're being led by the God. And your thinking is you might even be a brain in the vat for all you know, right?
Well, that's kind of the thing about like, what if I live in the Matrix? Well, if I'm in a simulation, that means there's a real world somewhere. So that's kind of a, for there to be a lie, there has to be a truth. For there to be an illusion, there has to be the real thing.
Right.
Yeah. So
It's possible.
yeah. Basically, I wanted to rant about the do not think, do not use that, do not look at the evidence. Your eyes are lying to you.
So you're on the you agree with me that that's nonsense, right?
Yes, I believe like
Okay.
if your mind is flawed, well, you can.
I didn't know where you. I didn't know if you were going with the precept, like we should all just doubt everything we think and feel because we're all flawed. But I see you're going the other direction. You're saying no. We can see. We can gather data. We can have knowledge of things. We can get experts in fields. We can do science. Yeah.
Although I also hate that there's this dumb two camps mentality. You have to join one camp or the other. One is like, don't think because your brain is dumb, just believe. The other is just be like materialistic atheists. I agree. How you only have those two choices.
I agree. I think it's dumb because I honestly think we just don't know what this reality is. It's a very mysterious reality. The idea that naturalism is all figured out, we have it all figured out. We just don't.
Well, I follow some very cutting edge scientists who look at the role of electricity in the world. They're not like trying to explain everything through it, but like if you put this missing ingredient in there and doubt Einstein's quote unquote beliefs, because Einstein didn't believe every single thing that he did. But like a lot of the world can be explained. Like physics needs to be updated a little bit, like gravity. What if it works just a bit differently? But yeah,
I mean, I don't know about gravity, but
well, basically, there's a different model of physics that basically state that gravity is a variation of the electrical force, and it's basically a charge of matter.
Interesting. Is that challenging the status quo? I have no idea.
It is challenging the status quo because, like, the status quo is light is a limit. There's space-time, there are black holes, and the other systems say, well, no, you can't go faster than light, but light cannot go faster than light. But gravity is a type of charge, and under extreme circumstances, it can be modified, and maybe orbits are not even gravitational, maybe they're electrical. So,
is that the electric universe thing?
Yes, although you did mention it once, but you kind of misremembered it a little bit. But it's fine. It's fine. They have like a website that you can just read the TLDR.
Richard Talbot and those guys.
Yes, although they're.
I used to be big followers of those guys, by the way.
Their de facto leaders died within a year. I have no idea who's gonna carry on.
I've been told that their science is like they actually do their homework. They're like good at like making models, but I've heard that they're not. No one takes them seriously.
Oh, well, that's because it's like, imagine you go to a village in the middle of like Dark Age Europe and say, well, the world is round. Who's going to take you seriously?
Yeah. True.
Basically, first of all, they don't claim they have it all figured out. They don't claim they can explain everything. It's so
they give an alternative view of reality. And then
Yes.
look, I'm a type of person where if you can do the math and make it work, then I'm interested.
Yeah.
And from what I've gathered, they can do that.
Yeah, that's another thing. One of their basic statements is math is super cool, but it is limited. It is a limited tool. It cannot describe the entire universe. For example, like
Plato would hate that. Plato
would
math.
hate them.
So you know what I mean.
Argue with them.
You read Plato then. Plato loves math. He thinks math is everything.
Another thing is they some of them figured out somehow is that electricity, like plasma behavior, is scalable. So you can basically plasma behaves the same way at like 1 millimeter is the same as 1 kilometer as like a light year and whatnot. So basically, if you take this into account, you can make experiments in a lab, and you can get results in a lab. Hello, Medea.
Just looking at just seeing comments, asking. That's all.
Yep.
You're good. Keep talking.
So basically, if you can make an experiment in a lab many times and get the same result every time, you can apply your results to basically the cosmos, because electricity is scalable to such an extent that what you do in a lab should work more or less the same way at very large sizes.
You know, I've always been fascinated by alternate models of reality, and I just don't know enough to like have an opinion. I like if what they're saying checks out, I'll follow them all the way until it doesn't.
Yeah, well,
that's all I'm going to say.
It's like so far their explanations. It's like it makes sense. It's very hard to disprove it, except with like, well, your physics is not real. Well, is it though? It's like, imagine there are invisible forces, for example, that make planets revolve around the sun at a certain distance, depending on the number of planets in the system, depending on their size, what they're made of. Like the orbit is basically fixed until something happens. So an orbit is not just gravity and inertia; it's just a force that keeps the planet at a certain distance and rotating. And the reason planets rotates is also because invisible forces are acting on it. Again, it's not inertia; it's an invisible force that makes it rotate, an invisible force that makes it spin. So basically, yeah, think in that way. And every planet has, of course, like electrical connection to the star.
Let me ask you this last question before I go to the next guy. Ben Kamuta, you're next. Or no, I'm sorry. Ben Kamuta, you're next. Do you think this model opens up theism more or less?
It is not. None of them are materialists. Like they're not saying, well, there's nothing, or like there's no soul or whatever. All they do is they try to understand how the cosmos works. That's pretty much it.
That's interesting, because I remember I saw the documentary Thunderbolts of the Gods.
I love that. Documentaries are terrible.
You think so?
Because they explain some of their positions, but they don't explain the physics. They don't start with the physics, and they go right into, oh, by the way, this is what we think happened.
And that, but they think the mythology of the Greeks was like lined up with this sort of electric universe thing.
Oh, please! They claim it's the.
I used to love that shit. They had me going for a while.
Yeah.
Until I talked to my boy. What's his name? I forgot his name. The YouTuber. Shit, I can't remember his name right now. I talked to him about this, and he was like, "Bro, stop listening to those guys. They are bunk." And then I said, "Okay, demonstrate it for me." He brought some arguments that I was like, all right, I think you're right. I think that sounds bullshit. But like I said, I've never looked into this shit, so I don't know. He could have been pulling my leg right there. Who knows?
Well, again, if you are very well educated, and your education said, okay, there's Einstein, there's space-time, and there's
Professor Dave. That's who it was. Remember, you know Professor Dave is?
I'm glad that he's your friend. I don't like him.
He's the one that told me that those guys are all foolish. They're all a bunch of. They're all orthodox.
He is orthodox. He is very, very well taught in accepted science, and
exactly
science says no other models exist. That's it.
Right. He told me that those guys are all bunk, and I said, okay. Because who am I? I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's just say their explanation of how ancient people even knew there's like a hexagon on the southern side of Saturn.
That's interesting. I love shit like that. I'm always open to shit like that. So look, man, you got to email me, bro, because I want to know more about this. I want to see what you're going down.
Yes. It's funny. I didn't actually wanted to talk about this. I wanted to like email, but you finished the whole imperfect mind debate in 2 minutes. Wow, that's quite fast.
Well, listen, you got my email, right?
Do
you want me to send it again?
I'm reading AFD. You're next. Oh,
Neil. I've been putting the private chat for you. How about that?
Yes,
ready?
That's where.
All right, all right, here we go. So I gave it to everyone for no reason. I put it in the public chat, but there you go. That's my
Oh, it's
email.
Neal, not
Yes.
Neil.
Dude, I'm not joking. I'm not pulling you. I'm not just telling you this to get you out of here. I want to hear more about this.
Oh,
I want to
please.
know.
Please.
If Electric Universe is true, I want people to convince me that it is. I'm open-minded.
Well, they
completely
try to
open-minded.
convince people that they're true. A lot of people are not listening.
I'm listening. I promise you I'm listening. I want to know if this makes sense. Please email me. Give me the best arguments you got. I'm going to read it. I'll do my best to keep up with it as much as I can. I'm going to bounce it off other arguments and see what they go with, and I'm going to see what happens. But let's keep in touch.
Thank you. I didn't actually expect to ever be in your show. That's
this is cool, man. I appreciate this. I love talking about physics and the universe and cosmos.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in ancient Greece right now. I feel like I'm Plato.
The last thing I'll mention is they are not necessarily aligned with, but they're friends with the morphic resonance guy, who basically says, well, his theories are kind of adjacent. They're not Electric Universe theories, but they're kind of friends. Sort of. He had a TED Talk banned because he was such a heretic.
I love heretics. I love heretics. You know me. I love heretics. Yeah, I promote Amon. He's a heretic.
I forgot the name of the scientist, but he's a British man, and it's like morphic resonance banned TED Talk. That's not like.
Well, listen. Send me that video. You got my email. Hit me up as soon as possible.
Yes,
I'm not kidding. Right after this,
kick me out of here,
something.
Please.
Send me something right now. All right. You got me?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate it. This is cool. Talk to you soon. Ben, you've been waiting.
What's good?
And then Anava, you're next. What's going on, Ben? Hold on. Before you talk, Ben, let me just make sure there's no super chats. I got one right here. Complaziert, 266. Bro, why is Pope wear pineal gland looking hat? Because that's their third eye. Of course, you're gonna wear a pineal gland hat. You gotta wear the pineal gland hat. So that's the answer to that question. Let's see what else we got. That's the last one. Thank you, Complazerit, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Ben, what's going on, man?
Yeah, lots of things. How do I sound? Do I sound good?
Sound good? Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the guy who just came on, I think he was talking about Rupert Sheldrake. That's the name of the guy with the band TED Talk and the morphic resonance, panpsychism stuff. Giorgiani. I mean, you've interviewed Giorgiani before. He's kind of spoken about that.
Giorgiani. Yeah.
Is this idea that basically consciousness is underpinning everything in reality? That's
mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Simon Magus. Apollonius of Tyana. So Simon Magus, Apollonius of Tyana being the historical Paul.
Apollonius of Tyana. I got my Apollonius. I was just pulling that book out recently. Go ahead.
The one by Philostratus?
Philostratus. I have it sitting over there right now. I was just looking through it.
Yeah, I mean, if you read so Paul speaks about being taken up to the third heaven in the New Testament. If you read Philostratus' Apollonius of Tyana, he was taken to a place called Shambhala, which is like this mythical, it's like a breakaway civilization. I mean, it's incredible the things that are discussed in that book. And
that book's amazing. By the way, let's want to tell people right now, what you're getting into is so important. Because people always ask me, what sources do I need to read to catch up to you? Like I'm some sort of like I'm some far ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write this in the chat right now. Philostratus, Life of Apollonius of Tyana. Boom. I spelled it wrong. Whatever. You'll copy and paste that. You'll find it. Get you a copy of Philostratus's Life of Apollonius of Tyana. Now, the book was written by the Severan dynasty, the year 200 AD. Julia Mesa, not Julia Mamea, who was a Christian, but her sister, Julia Mesa, who was a pagan, who was deified, super amazing empress. Before, when not Alexander Severus, when the first Severus was in power, his wife, Julia Mesa, was the one who was the main patron who paid Philostratus to write the book about Apollonius of Tyana. Now, Apollonius of Tyana lived in the 1st century. He didn't live in the 2nd century or 3rd century. When this book was written in the year 200, around the year 200 AD, they were already well past his life. So they're backdating. But they had the right scholars, the right people to come along, get the sources together, and write the life of Apollonius of Tyana. It was under the Severan dynasty, the same dynasty where Christianity became cool. Because believe it or not, it was the Severans who said, stop being mean to Christians. They're like us. They're just like us. It was the same dynasty that did that, wrote the life of Apollonius of Tyana. I just want to set that off the rip. But go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
So I think Apollonius is the historical Paul. Most scholars think that Philostratus, they commissioned that book because they wanted a competing myth to the Jesus story, right? But if you look at so Apollonius, he travels to the same places that Paul traveled to. Both of them were born in modern day Turkey. He was born at, I think it's called Cappadocia. He was born in Cappadocia.
Yeah, Tyana is in Cappadocia.
Yep. And Paul was born in Tarsus, okay? Both of those places are in Turkey. So it's that same area. He had a companion named Damis who wrote down that book. Philostratus gives you the sources in his book. He says where he got the stories of Apollonius from. And he said that he found Damis, or the writings of Damis. Paul had a companion named Damis. Yeah, that's the place.
Just highlighting what you're saying.
Yeah. Paul had a companion named Damis as well. But I think it's spelled
Damis is one of the main characters of the story.
Yeah. So Paul had
it's Damus, like this.
Yes. I mentioned him being taken up to Shambhala, where he was taught the mysteries, and it even describes seeing automatons like robots.
I've actually had this conversation with Jacob Berman a long time ago, where I was reading Life of Apollonius of Tyana for the first time. I want to say 3 years ago, and I called Jacob Berman and I go, "There's a Damis in here. It's the same name as the guy in Paul's epistle." Me and him had this conversation about 3 years. But go ahead. This is fun, man. This is cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know he's not very impressed with the theory because I've
I don't think he is.
He doesn't like that idea. But I think there's something there. I mean, obviously, there's also the name Apollos and Apollonius. Like there's this. I have a dictionary here where it was written in 1927, and it basically says that another way of saying Paul's name is Apollos. Like that's the Greek way of saying his name.
Paul had a friend named Apollos.
And he had a friend. Right. This is another thing.
By the way, Apollos was the first bishop of Athens.
Wow.
So you have Peter in Rome, Peter also in Syria. For some reason, Peter is in both places. He's the first bishop of Syria and Rome. Mark in Alexandria. And then you have Apollos as the first bishop in Athens. So this Apollos was supposedly the guy that Paul talks about.
Yeah, in Acts 18:24 and Acts 19:1, he's discussing Apollos, and it's in the way that he's discussed. It's in a very strange way. It's almost like somebody's trying to forcibly distance the two from being the same character. There's Acts 18:24, Acts 19:1, 1 Corinthians 1:12. I mean, he's mentioned like 6 times, and then 1 Corinthians 3 and 4. I can name all of them. There's 2 others, and so there's. Could it be that basically this figure, Simon Magus and Apollonius, I'm coming to Simon Magus just now, but Apollonius was teaching about these ancient mysteries. We don't know much. We know he was a Pythagorean. We know that he
was a Neo-Pythagorean.
Yeah, Neo-Pythagorean.
Which, by the way, I want to point this out to people. The symbol of the Star of David happens to be identical to an ancient Pythagorean symbol in geometry. That's a symbol for the cosmos itself. I'm going to show you.
Yeah, please.
All right. If you don't mind, can you keep talking to the chat while I go away for a couple minutes to find this book that I have to get? Just talk about Apollonius of Tyana. Do not stop talking. Read the chat if you have to. I'll be right back. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody's in the chat saying sources, trust me, bro. It's not trust me, bro. This is all in Philostratus's writings. Paul had a companion named Damis. Apollonius had a companion named Damis. Paul was born in modern day Turkey. Apollonius was born in modern day Turkey. Both of them were incredible orators. Apollonius was setting up congregations in the same places that Paul was setting up congregations. The names are the same. Apollos and Apollonius, same names. Both of them have a shipwreck story where they were wrecked at sea. Everyone knows this. Paul, Apollonius, and then you got people like Ralph Ellis, who try to say that Josephus is Paul. I'm not so sure I agree with that. But you get what I'm saying. There's like all these similarities between Paul and Apollonius that it just makes you wonder, were they the same person? The woman who wrote the book Christ's Conspiracy, her name was Akari S. D.M. Murdoch. Again, people want to throw away her writings. I'm sure she got some things wrong, but her books are very well sourced. And in her, I think one of her last interviews that she did was an interview on Apollonius of Tyana. That was the last book that she was going to write before she passed away. Was a
Jay, good, man.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is a book called The Pythagorean Source Book and Library. Now, there's a bunch of books. There's another book you can get called The Golden Chain. Before I even bring this up, you got to see this book. Golden Chain. This is such a good book. Golden Chain book. I want to recommend the book for everybody. It's so influential on me. And I just want to bring this up for everybody. So let me share my screen right now before I continue with what I'm about to say. So the Golden Chain. You can see that?
Yeah.
Golden Chain. This book right here. This is one of the OGs, Algis Uzdavinus. This Jude is one of the greats. He wrote another book that I have. I have like 4 of his books here. The other book that I read from him is called Orpheus and the Roots of Greek Religion. You got to get this 2 books, The Golden Chain and the Orpheus. But anyways, this guy has got Pythagoras figured out. That's what I'm trying to get at. All right. Anyways, with that being said, this is another book from Kenneth Sylvan Guthrie called The Pythagorean Source Book and Library. And there's a lot of stuff in here about monotheism. The original monotheists were the Pythagoreans. The original pious lovers, people who really put piety over everything else, is the Pythagoreans. The people who invented gematria, is that Hebrew? Nope. Pythagorean. You got to get this book. You'll see. I'm telling you right now, if you get this book, you'll see what I mean. But there's another thing they have. They do gematria. The real gematria also has to do with geometry. And you get these different symbols that mean different things. And one of them looks kind of familiar.
Yeah, it looks like the Star of David. Yeah, that symbol was also used in many, like I've seen it in Ethiopian churches as well.
When I first saw this symbol when I was in Israel, can you imagine being in Israel? I went from ancient site to ancient site. I saw every ancient site. I was there for 3 weeks before I went to Egypt and Jordan. 3 weeks. Every day we were working. We were trying to find ancient sites to look at them. Can you imagine the only one time I found the Star of David? It wasn't from the Jews. It was from the pagans, from the Pythagoreans in Israel. From the 2nd century CE Byzantine inscription in the city of Caesarea, there is a Jewish, well, it looks like a Jewish Star of David, but it's a magic symbol inscribed by the 2nd century CE Neo-Pythagoreans. The Star of David did not exist until way later. I'm talking probably 15th century. Some people argue not even until the 20th century.
Yeah,
So
even what's it? You know the Saracens
the
and
what?
the Saracens, the Moors.
Yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. They had the star of they had that star on their shields when they were fighting against the Franks in the 7th century.
So it makes you wonder if they're borrowing from this Pythagorean minds, because in this text, all it does is say it represents the cosmos. So are they borrowing from this symbol? I don't know. The jury's still out of where it comes from. All I know is that symbol first shows up by the Pythagoreans before the Jews. That's all that I know for sure.
That's
that
a
I can
fact.
tell you that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So is it a coincidence? I mean, all it is two triangles above each other. So it could be a coincidence. I'm not closed off to the fact that it could be a coincidence. But I'm also saying, are the Pythagoreans with their they invented gematria too? They were in Alexandria in 300 BCE. All I'm saying is there's some things we need to we clear up before we just decide that it's a coincidence.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. That's an ancient. It's a solar symbol because normally they say it represents the 4 elements. So you've got four corners at the bottom, and then one at the top and one at the bottom. So they would say like represents the 4 elements, and then the 2 dualities of light and darkness, or whatever you want to use, masculine, feminine, whatever. So it makes sense. I mean, it's I've seen it in the churches at Lalibela. I've also seen what's the name of the swastika? I've also seen that on the churches at Lalibela as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The swastika. By the way, if you go to the Met Museum, I love the Met Museum, any museum, and if you look into ancient Greek pottery, ancient Latin pottery, ancient European pottery, ancient Indian pottery, ancient Black Sea region pottery, ancient Scythian pottery, you're gonna run into some of those symbols.
Same, yeah.
The fact that the Nazis decided to use that symbol is kind of sucks, because that symbol was all over the ancient world.
Yeah.
So that's just a fact, and it's unfortunate that people can't look at that symbol without going, like
without being emotional.
It's a symbol that has power over you, because why? That symbol existed for thousands of years in the Copper Age, and the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age, and it's a pretty cool looking symbol.
Yeah,
You know?
and apparently it means a lot. I mean, the Nazis. Okay, it's gonna sound crazy, but I guess I can say it because I don't know. Whatever, I'm a black person. The Nazis were not stupid. You know, they were studying ancient texts. You know what I mean?
They were. They had really good scholarship at their time period. The German philologists. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is also connected to what I'm about to say, because I want to come to Simon Magus, and then I want to talk about Dionysus and this Yahoo deity, because I think that there's a connection with all 3 of these guys.
Go ahead, and let me tell you this. Let's go through this little Yahoo thing, and then I got Grandpa next. Go ahead, but take your time. No rush.
So Simon Magus, let me come to him. So Simon Magus was also somebody who was known for using different aliases. He would go into one city and then take on a different name. Go to another city, take on a different, just like Paul, right? Paul would allow himself to be known by many different names. He said he would be all things to all people. I don't know the verse in the Bible, but he says that.
He says that. He says, to the Jews, I'm like a Jew. To the Gentiles, I'm like a Gentile. I'm all things to all people. He's a pandering motherfucker, man. Pandering motherfucker.
I think he was a perennialist. A perennialism is somebody who believes that there's truth in all these religions, and I'm just coming to show you the common thread between all of them. You see, there's a verse in the New Testament where Paul says that this gospel that he was preaching was preached to every creature under heaven already. At the time, in the 1st century AD, how is that possible? And I'm trying to think of... So Simon Magus, if you read Irenaeus' Against Heresies, he also did the same thing. He was known as the father to the Samaritans, and then he said he was known as the son to the Jews, and then he was known as the Holy Spirit. He went around attributing all these things to himself. And what I found in the Clementine recognitions, I guess this will be my sort of last thing, because we know the similarities between Simon Magus and
take your
Paul.
time, man. You're good. You gotta rush.
In the Clementine,
I'm very fascinated about everything you brought to the table so far. So I'm not rushing you out. Go ahead.
Hundreds.
The floor is yours, man. The floor is yours.
Simon Magus has a monologue in the Clementine Recognitions. I have a quote here, and he says that his mother's name was Rachel, and that she was born of like she gave birth to him as a virgin, like he was some kind of immaculate conception. And then
That's another thing. Simon Magus had his own tradition, where the followers of John the Baptist, who were still alive, in the year of Simon Magus showed up to that school, and I forgot the name of the successor of John the Baptist was. It wasn't Jesus. It was some other guy. He went there, and they had like a duel. What happened is there was a miracle that supposedly happened in favor of Simon Magus, and all the followers of the successor of John the Baptist started following Simon Magus. And this Doethius, that was his name. Doethius. That was he was the guy who was the successor of John the Baptist, who said, I am no longer your leader. Follow Simon Magus. I'm going to kill myself.
Yes, and he called Simon the standing one.
He said Simon is the standing one who's higher than the Christ himself.
That's the one.
So Simon has a crazy story, crazy backstory.
Yep. And sometimes I wonder if Christ, was that a title that John took for himself? Because why?
Some people do say that there's more than one Christ. People do think that.
Yeah, because I think this Yeshua Christos thing, I tend to agree with the whole Philo sort of logos idea that Yeshua was a pre-existent, it was a name for the pre-existent logos, that God's agent of creation, this old Greek idea.
Well, Yeshua means salvation of Yahweh.
Right.
In the Greek, it's Jason. Jason is the healer. He's also the savior from the Argonautics. So Jason and Jesus is already a name that means something. It's a title itself. So the mythicists, by the way, the mythicists deserve credit, because when you want to find a myth, when you want to find a fable, what's the number one thing that gives off a fable? When the person's name is doing the things that they're doing in the story. For example, if the person's in the story, let's say I'm reading Aesop's Fables. How do I know Aesop's Fables are true or not? The guy's name is Sleepy. And in this story, he sleeps a lot. That's fake. It didn't happen.
Right.
Jesus' name is Healer, Salvation. Yeshua means to heal in Yahweh's name, to save in Yahweh's name. He's healing people. He's saving, rising people from the dead. So the mythicists are not off when they say, come on. He's doing the things that his name has. His name is describing who he is. You can't argue with that. Yeah. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your PhD says, because you probably were taught by some Christian fundamentalist. Bart Ehrman, Brute Metzger, who was taught by Brute Metzger, or Kip Davis, who was taught by the one fundamentalist guy who tried to forge his own Dead Sea Scrolls. Sorry.
Really?
I'm not saying that Jesus didn't exist, but I'm saying you should chill out a little bit. Chill out a little bit about mythicism. They're not that far off. All right. Rant over. Go ahead.
Amazing. It's so obvious when you think about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. So I think that they believe that this pre-existent figure manifested 2,000 years ago, that he somehow incarnated either in the person of John, and then James, who took over John's community. I think in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's what Eisenman says, that James was the one who was leading. He was the teacher of righteousness, James the Just. And then after James, this is now when this Paul figure comes in, and the Dead Sea Scrolls call him the liar. At least that's what Eisenman thinks that he was the liar of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I can't think of any other text that mention him, but basically Paul comes in as this sort of almost foreign person. He was originally persecuting them according to the Bible. So Rachel, right? So I was talking about Simon Magus, and so he's claiming that his mother's name was Rachel, and Rachel is, if you read the Bible, she's the seed of she's from the tribe of Benjamin. And when you read Philippians, Paul says that he's from the tribe of Benjamin in Philippians chapter 3, verse 4 to 5. So I don't know. That was what I wanted to come to, is that Simon Magus and Paul, I think there's a lot of evidence that they're the same person.
By the way, what's his name? Price, Dr. Price.
Yeah, Dr. Robert Price, right?
Dr. Robert Price thinks that Simon Magus and Paul had traditions in common. He doesn't know it necessarily if they're both the same guy. I think he's said that before, but I think if you pushed him on it, he thinks there might have been two people that were both getting applied the same tradition. And that's for some reason, Paul gets the good one. Paul ends up getting like taken away from the bad magic traditions, and then Simon Magus gets all the bad. If you look at the book of Acts, by the way, to credit Robert Price on this, the book of Acts is split into two perfectly. The first half of Acts is all about Peter. Peter did this, Peter did that. And the second half of Acts, Paul. But there's also like a layer in there about Simon Magus. And so it takes away from Peter, takes away from Paul, and then it sort of focuses on Simon Magus for a couple of minutes. And it sort of gives him a bad light, but not that bad of a light. The Simon Magus in the book of Acts ends on a good note. He gets saved, he gets the Holy Spirit, and that's it. You have no idea what happens to him after that. It doesn't say he's an evil guy or a Gnostic or nothing. He goes from being a magician to getting saved, getting the Holy Spirit, and then you never hear from him again. So there is some truth to the fact that there's something going on with the Simon Magus figure where he's almost being, in the book of Acts, I don't know if Luke wrote it or not. We'll say Luke wrote it. Luke is writing a story, and he's showing what happened after Jesus returned from the dead and went back up to heaven. He starts off with Peter, he gets into Simon Magus, and he gets into Paul. So what's going on there? And why is he what is going on with these three characters? Peter, Simon Magus, and Paul. What is he trying to tell us? So that's an open question.
And I think, and Robert Price, he tried to say that because they couldn't, Paul was so successful, Simon Magus, Apollonius, he was so successful that they couldn't just throw him away. So they tried to co-opt his letters and then create Paul as the sanitized version.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. And when you look at the sects that came from Simon Magus, because many Gnostics claim that Simon Magus,
the Valentinians, the Carpocratians, the Sethians,
Nicolaitans,
they all of them were like, Simon is the real deal.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Peter's name is Simon too. There's two Simons.
Simon Peter. Yeah, I used to think that Simon and Peter were like two ciphers for the same person, trying to wrestle between orthodoxy and like.
That's why you brought up Paul and Simon. That's why I brought Peter in the mix, because they're Simon Peter, Simon Magus, and then Paul. Like, what is this? Who's the successor of Jesus? Is it one of those three? Is that what happened? So is Acts trying to unite the three successors of maybe? I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe there was three traditions. Let's say we're in the year 90 AD. At that point in time, you have Basilides, you have Clement of Alexandria or Clement of Rome, and you have
Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, which one?
You have Ignatius or whoever. It doesn't matter. But at that point in time, there could have been three arguing factions of who the successor of Christ is. There could have been some saying it's Peter, because Peter's he consecrates Rome. There could have been some saying it's Paul, because Paul. And there could have been others saying, no, it's Simon Magus, the one that usurped John the Baptist. So when Luke is written, maybe Luke is trying to fix it all and make it seem, no, they're not. They're all the successor. Here's the story. Simon Magus did this, Peter did this, Paul did this, and here's where we're at. That could have been what happened.
You also have the Simon of Cyrene thing as well, because Simon of Cyrene was doing miracles in the name of Jesus. That's in Mark chapter 9, verse 38 to 40, where you see this person driving out devils in the name of Jesus. Nobody knows who he is, and he's also got the name Simon. And Basilides said that he was the one that was crucified.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm coming to something, because Apollonius of Tyana, okay, he wasn't. Some people say he was crucified. Giorgiani says that he was crucified.
There are some accounts. There are some like rumors that he was condemned to crucifixion.
Yes. And then there's all these stories about him either escaping or surviving crucifixion and then being taken to India. And then from India,
Just like Jesus.
Just like Jesus. And these stories, you see all the stuff from Billy Carson and all these people in the New Age, Jesus went to India and Tibet, and he went here and he traveled here and he was healing people and teaching all this. I think that those stories are coming from Paul or Apollonius of Tyana or Simon Make. Like, it's almost like people are confusing the two. And so, yeah, you got to read that thing, man. That autobiography from
This is a must-have. The Life
Very
of Apollonius of Tyana, the Epistles of Apollonius, and the Treatise of Eusebius.
Very, very heavy stuff. And okay, so 2 more things, because I know I've been here for a while. I know it's your show.
Okay, yeah. I got some people waiting. Go ahead. You're good.
I want to actually, what Simon was teaching was very heavy stuff, because he was talking about fire and like this Heraclitean idea.
Heraclitean, you got it. You figured it out
Yep.
before I even said it. He's a Heraclitean.
Heraclitean.
So you're a Giorgiani fan, aren't you?
I've studied him extensively.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, and because I'm a philosopher as well, I'm very interested in philosophy, and so he was trying to explain how, like, there's this fire that is the root, just like what I was saying earlier about consciousness being the root of everything, and that this consciousness is always changing and taking different shapes and forms and so on, and that basically it descended into Jesus or John, whoever took on the title, and then anointed this person to be able to teach what they were teaching, right? So I wanted to throw that out there because it's very the philosophical background of Greece was impacting everything that you see in the New Testament. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that. We can talk a little bit more about that another time.
Before you go, I just wanted to pull up the Great Declaration.
Yes.
If I can find it, I think it's on Catholic Encyclopedia. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not.
Some people think it's very Zoroastrian or Persian. The way that the Great Declaration.
It's 100% syncretic. So Simon Magus, whoever wrote this text, I think it was Simon Magus. I don't have a reason to doubt it was Simon Magus. Whoever wrote this text was synchronizing Christian beliefs with Zoroastrian beliefs, with Heraclitean beliefs, and Platonic beliefs. You also find like little here. This is it. Simon. No, that's not it. Simon Magus. I don't know if I could find it right now. The Great Revelation by Simon Magus. I had it. I just had it recently. Here it is.
Yeah. Also, what's his name? The guy from Aeon Bytes. He has a translation from Robert Price on his website.
Is that who? Is that okay? So let me just find that.
Whoa! What just happened? Did he just disappear?
Find the one from Robert Price real quick, or from you said the Great Declaration.
So,
I just found it.
So if you go to the website, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's called thegodabovegod.com.
I got it. I got it right here.
Yeah, that's the.
Just real quick, people got to see this for themselves. So this is it right here, right?
Yep.
So where does he start it at? I don't know where he starts it at, but here we go. Here we go. This is the writing down of it's right here. It's right here. This is the writing down of the declaration of the voice and name from thought, which is the great power of boundless. Let me make this bigger for people to see this. This is the perfect translation. Great translation. Good job, Miguel. I thank you, Miguel, for doing this translation for us. Amazing. It shall be sealed up, hidden and concealed, placed in the dwelling which rests upon the universal root. To you then I say what I have to say, and I have right, and I have the rights. This is the writing thereof. From the universal, I'm gonna read 5 paragraphs. From the universal ions springs two shoots, which are without beginning or ending and stemming from a single root, which is the invisible power, unknowable silence of the two shoots appears from above. This is the great power, the universal mind. By the way, in Greek, that's the universal nous,
That's right.
nous cosmo, that sets all things in order, being male. The other appeals from below. That is the great thought, which is the female, and brings forth all things. From this state, they pair off with each other, uniting and appearing in the middle distance, an incomprehensible air, without beginning, apeiron. That's what that means. That's another Greek concept, apeiron. Without beginning or end, here is to be found Father, pater, by whom all things sustained, and by whom nourished those things which do partake of beginning and ending. Such is he who has stood, who stands, who will stand, a male-female power, like unto the boundless power, which is a stranger equally to beginning and ending, existing in oneness. For it was from this that the thought within the oneness proceeded became two. That's your monad breaking off into a dyad. That's your trinity right there. Two more paragraphs. Thus was he before, as he himself was yet alone. For he had not so first, because through pre-existent, by revealing himself to himself, he became a second. Nor could he be called Father till thought named him so. Thus, producing himself by himself, he revealed to himself his own thought. In the same way, the thought that was revealed did not make the Father known, but rather concealed him by contemplating him. That is the power in herself. Randomly, it gets feminine here. I don't know why the Greek does this. People have been debating this too. People have been debating this one word in this huge thing for centuries, since we found this thing. No one knows why it says female here. Anyways, the result being male, female power in thought. That's that. That's the starting point of Simon Magus's great declaration. Go and find that text for yourself. Go ahead. Last thoughts.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what they were doing, just like I said about Philo, is they were reading the book of Genesis and then extracting all this esoteric Greek philosophical Persian ideas, even Egyptian ideas, and then creating a whole new system to understand the Bible in a higher expression, in a more, in a deeper manner. And I mean, it's really talking about consciousness, the dynamics of consciousness, how it's like awareness becoming aware of its own awareness.
Yeah,
and
so
that's what produces the thought. You see?
And just to tell people, why is it Heraclitean? Because he considers the logos of God to be a fire.
Mm-hmm.
So he always talks about the being on fire.
And that's in the Old Testament too, by the way. It says that God is an all-consuming flame.
All-consuming fire. That's a Zoroastrian idea.
Yep.
So when you want to know who is the first people to come up with the idea that God is an all-pervading fire, Zoroaster did. Not the Jews, not the Christians, not the Gnostics. The Zoroastrians did.
Yep. I guess I'll close on this because I think I wanted us to close on that particular thing of Heraclitus. Maybe next time we can talk about the Hyksos, because they worshiped a god named Yakub or Yakuber. They had if you read Flinders Petrie's book, he shows the
Dionysian thing.
The Dionysian Yahoo, and they were in Syria.
I know. Yeah, listen. Next time I go live, you better fucking bring that shit.
I will.
Because I want to talk about that more than anything else.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Because once you see that connection, it's like you can see why the
once you see Yaakov and Yaakov, Yaakos and Yaakov, how do you not see that anymore? They're both the gods of life. They both are the gods of vintage.
Wine.
Once you see that, it's over, dude. By the way, Dionysus, Yakos, supplants his cousin Pentheus, just like Jacob supplants his brother Esau. Once you see it, you won't unsee it.
That's incredible. Is this live going to be saved by any chance, or is it just?
I probably will delete it, but you could always find it. It'll be in my podcast section.
Gotcha.
Even if it's unlisted, it'll be in my podcast section. You'll find it.
All right, man. I just want to say thank you so much. I love your platform. I'm watching from South Africa. I don't know if you can tell I have an accent. I'm from South Africa.
I can tell it's from somewhere. I don't know. Yeah.
So I appreciate you, man. Keep going. I've been like watching for the last 2 years, and it's amazing, man. Just the information that you're giving up. You're changing people's lives, bro. Believe it or not. Like this platform has changed my life, my understanding of text, history, religion, and So
Good. I appreciate that. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Hit me up,
Always.
hit me up, man. Good. Nice to meet you, Ben. Have a good one.
Peace.
Ram Pong, what's going on, man?
Oh, not too much, Neil. Haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
I was going to say you can throw Josephus into that Simon Magus, Simon Peter Paul tradition. It seems to be definitely pulling as part of that group.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, I was going to say one of the things I thought would be interesting to debate is, again, one of the old ones is what is truth and how much confidence we can have in some of the texts we're working with and why we have that confidence.
Well, I mean, that's the ultimate question, right? I mean, how much confidence do you have? You have what other people say about things. You have what the primary sources say. I go with the primary sources. What the primary sources. I don't give a shit what 100 people all agree on, because if they have pressure to agree on it, I don't care.
Oh, I agree 100%. To me, the ultimate arbiter is personal discernment.
It's the most laughable thing that I've noticed in academia, where 100 people who all are specialized in something way farther than the thing being questioned. But the thing being questioned, they get to add their 2 cents in it because they have a PhD and they're not even studying this fucking thing. But then it becomes the overwhelming consensus agrees that this thing is blah, 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 blah. And because all these people agree on this, blah, 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 that's the truth. But then you actually ask the people who are looking into that actual thing, and they say something else. So,
oh, definitely. What you're talking about is
I tell people to not look at the status quo or what the overwhelming consensus is, to look at who the fuck is looking into that thing. Who is the one person who did their PhD on that one thing? Ask them what their fucking conclusion is. Don't ask the guy who studied something else because he agrees with 10 other people on the same thing. Who gives a shit about that? That's what I think.
I was going to say, you're talking the echo chamber of the ivory tower, and I still go with personal discernment. You listen to the experts, but you decide for yourself.
Yeah. That's it.
And what I'm talking about is things like the ancient histories, because we have things like Damnatio Memoria, where the things written about Nero are as explicitly known to be over the top negative. And because of that, how do we know what act?
You broke up. Can't hear you, man. I think I lost you, man.
Oh, sorry. I was notified my phone wanting to update. No, I was saying how much confidence can we put in Tacitus or Suetonius as to what they have down there and everything is true. Some of it obviously is. Some of it I have a lot of question whether it's true. And if we're just going sources are sources and we have to trust them, I can't sign off on that. I'm just wondering why you can't, given that tag.
That's why you have archaeologists, man. You got to look at the archaeological data. You got to read the papers. You got to read broad. Read as broad as you possibly can. Don't just read Tacitus and say, well, Tacitus said this, so therefore it's true. Read the archaeological data of the time period of Tacitus, read other sources from the Tacitus's period, which would be Suetonius, which would be Diodorus of Sicily, which would be, I don't know, Herodian, whoever, Cassius Dio, whoever the hell it is, and compare and contrast and go off of what the experts are saying, and don't go off with the experts. Whatever you want to do, you got to read broad. It's really that simple. You got to read as broad as possible.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to test it too. It's like when it comes to Nero, one of the theories that I have is, him playing into the whole Christ mythos, where you have the returning Nero from the East.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's the idea, well, how do we even know Nero was actually assassinated? We know it was written, and his assassination story sounds every bit as what you were talking about earlier, is made up as a fable. So it's like, how do we know he just didn't exit stage east over to the Parthian Empire? So tag.
Never know. Who knows? I mean, it comes down to a couple of primary sources that tell us what they want us to know.
Yeah, and that's why I sort of go with history is kind of like you have to look at it as a psyop. It's what the elite want you to know happened. And a lot of it's true, but you can't trust it all.
But also remember that different elites in different time periods are dictating what the history says.
Oh, absolutely. And that plays into, a lot of what we're talking about with the origins of Christianity, where you had one Roman Empire dynasty overturning the other, and they basically start writing the previous one as the worst people on earth, and you have this constant inversion and rewriting.
Couldn't agree more.
That's, and again, both of us, we have a lot of shared interest in like Russell Gmirkin, Jonathan Adler. I think their work on the origin of Judaism and the Torah is just groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking.
We're both
Absolutely.
on the same page.
Absolutely. And by the way, people who don't know what we said about there, Jonathan Adler has pushed forth the archaeological data that the Torah was not being observed until the 150s BCE, the Maccabean period. That way deep in the Hellenistic period, people finally started not eating pork and doing circumcisions. Russell Gmirkin, on the other hand, brings another approach, the Platonist approach, where he thinks, and I agree with him, I think he demonstrates this in his multiple books. Here's Jonathan Adler's book right here. Get that book right there. The Origins of Judaism. Game changer. Game changer. There's another book coming out from Gad Barnea that should be out like this week. Gad Barnea.
I'm so looking forward to that.
When does that come out again? It's coming out
I was thinking it was coming out in November. I was thinking we had a couple of weeks to go.
Right. Yeah. A couple more weeks. You're right. Look forward to that one. I'll let people know when that one comes out. You're right.
Yeah, no, that's the Persian era Judaism one, or Yahwism, as he was calling it.
But you got to get these books right here: Plato and the Creation of the Hebrew Bible. And where's the other one? I was probably reading it. It's probably why it's not in its normal spot. Berosus look at Russell Gmirkin. Get this guy's books. They're all peer reviewed. They've all been through heavy fact checking. They're not just some random guy in his basement just writing what he wants. These books are published through Routledge. See that? Routledge. Go and get this guy's books, Russell Gmirkin, through Copenhagen International. This is one of them right here, Plato and the Creation of the Bible. This is the law books. But the one that I really want you guys to get is the Berosus and the, what is it called?
Berosus and Genesis?
Yes, Berosus and Genesis. That's the one. This guy shows the philosophy behind the Torah is pre-Socratic monism, which is put together through Plato. He demonstrates it. He doesn't just say he thinks this. He demonstrates it. And I've been a follower ever since. And nobody has ever come along and proved me otherwise. People have been saying, no, no, Moses, he existed in the gap somewhere. Fucking pathetic scholars who don't give a shit about this, who are watching hockey and don't care, and they're not reading Plato, so they have no fucking idea what we're talking about. They're just going, no, no, and you're not convincing me. And I'm literally a neutral. I'm literally a neutral guy. Whoever makes the most convincing argument, you will see Gnostic informant going with that guy. I don't give a fuck who will get me more views, who will make me more money, who will make me more cool. I don't care. Whoever the fuck is more convincing, Gnostic informant will represent. That's a fact that you can take home to the bank with you. I don't care who will get me more views. I don't care who will get me more money. I don't care who will get me better off with the academics. I don't give a shit. Whoever is more convincing, Gnostic informant will promote them. And
Well,
Russell
speaking of
Gemerkin-
convincing,
Russell Gemerkin
did you
is the
did you
guy.
happen to get a chance to look at my my video on that territory on the origin of the Torah?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, no, my theory is that the Torah was a product of the Ptolemies and basically like the Nabateans at the time, and this was it was the synthetic religion that Plato had talked about in the Republic. They were explicitly creating a synthetic Platonic religion out of the Canaanite myths, and then it was placed into the Holy Land by basically the veterans of the Punic Wars that had lost. They were basically going to install the synthetic Semitic religion into the Holy Land after they had lost the Holy War and, launched off of Tyre. That's sort of my high-level theory. What do you think?
The Nabateans, you think?
They wrote it. They wrote it alongside with the Ptolemies. It was a collaboration. I see the Nabateans having something to do with the death of Alexander, given his next step was to conquer Arabia. And they were very much involved with the trade route. They knew about it. They were connected to the priest class, and they had Alexander taken out and Ptolemy installed instead.
The only thing I'd say with that is why would the Nabateans? I mean, maybe, but the Nabateans were in control of the Arabian coastal areas where you got Petra, you got modern day Georgia, for example.
It's not really coastal, but Nabateans I see as sort of the Phoenicians of the desert. It was the two different trade routes. They controlled the overland trade routes.
Oh, you're saying the Phoenicians of the other side of the desert? That's what you're saying.
Well, the Phoenicians controlled the sea, and the Nabateans basically controlled the overland trade.
Sure. Okay, I get what you're saying. Maybe.
And one of the things, a lot of the kingdoms like Comanche and those that
hey, Graham,
arose from the fall of the Seleucid Empire.
Graham, I gotta pee real quick. Just talk for 5 minutes. You got that?
Sure. No, I was going to say it's a period. The Nabateans, their history is very little. Is what was never really written down, and they're one of those groups that I find interesting, and I think they have a lot of role to play here, and a lot of the kingdoms that arose from the fall of the Seleucid Empire as well. And you're talking Seleucus was another one of the generals under Alexander, along with Ptolemy, and he got his set of the empire in the east with Babylon and all. And the various empires like Comanche and up in Asia Minor that arose as the Seleucid Empire kind of disintegrated were ruled by the trading families who married into the royalty, and as the political system collapsed, you left with the trading families trying to hold things together, and that's where they became the rulers. And you ended up later on, a few hundred years later, and that's where you ended up them all fighting against each other. And now the general theory is that as you went from Plato to Aristotle, who was the tutor of both Alexander and Ptolemy. And they were spreading that in the Hellenic world, the synchronization, and you were basically doing a homogenization, synchronization of the culture, and then instilling it. And when they got to Egypt, the next step was Ptolemy, and after his deal with the Nabateans, that he would that's where they wrote the Torah together, brought all of that together. And in a certain extent, the Library of Alexander was information control. They were controlling what was known in the ancient world rather than just gathering it together. Tag.
That's a good. Hey, man, yeah, I like the theory. It was cool to have you on, man. I appreciate you coming through.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you again, Neil. Get on to other people. Have fun.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, man. It was great. It was great having you on, man.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Jew.
Hello.
What up, Jew? What's going on?
Great.
Wait, let me just check if I have any super chats real quick.
Oh, cool.
No, you can't have those books. Can't have those. Just trying to chew my books. Let me see if I got any super chats. No. Oh, wait. Somebody said, wait, what was that about Kip's doctor? Good question. I don't even remember saying that. Peter Flint. All right, I'll bring it up. Peter Flint. You asked me, so I'm going to go there. I wasn't going to go here, but you asked me. So this guy, Peter Flint. By the way, I'll bring you right back up. I promise. All right, Drew? I'll bring it back up. Peter Flint. This is Kip Davis's professor. Involved in research in the Dead Sea Scrolls for over 20 years. One of the 70 official members of the Dead Sea Scrolls editors worldwide. As the controversy of publishing the Dead Sea Scrolls escalated in 1997, he moved from South Africa to the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, where he took a doctoral fellowship. Blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit. This guy's a piece of shit. Sorry, Kip. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to be rough. I didn't mean to be. He's probably a nice guy. He's probably a fucking nice guy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be like harsh. This guy tried to translate the text however the fuck he wanted it to say. So what do I mean by that? Piece of shit. Sorry, it's making me mad thinking about it. Imagine you can't read this. It's all blurry, right? You can't read it. So what does it say? You can't read it. Let's make it say whatever the fuck I want it to say. Let's make it say Christianity is true somehow. Well, that's fucking Kip's doctoral teacher. Kip, tell me I'm wrong. Anyways, that's the end of that one. That's true. It's a fact. The guy wanted the Septuagint to be the right translation so the New Testament can be correct. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you what I'm talking about right now. Let's play a clip right now. Flint. Peter Flint. Psalm 22. I mean, this is enough to be like, this guy just should never be taken seriously ever again for the rest of his life. But, you know, who cares? All right, who am I? I'm just some random guy, right? I can't find this clip right now. Psalm 22. Peter Flint, pierced hands, feet. Here. Ready for this? By the way, Jew, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you back. Just stay with me for 1 second. That's not it. That's the wrong clip. Here we go.
You can see it, the shin, all that.
Yeah.
You can see
Good
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Very good. So the verse 16 in the English, verse 17 in the Hebrew.
Here you go.
You don't need therapy, is what I used to tell myself all the
Why do we gotta have an ad? Are you serious? Stupid ads. All right, hold on. I'm almost there. We're gonna play it. All right, right?
He's showing me that all these scrolls, these ancient scrolls, line up better with the Christian Bible than they do with the Jewish Bible.
We
That's
do
fast.
have a clip that you could show about this.
We'll show it right now.
Let's do it.
Well, there's a very interesting verse in Psalm 22 in the King James. Dogs have surrounded me. A pack of evil ones close in on me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. Now, you know this verse, and you would say this affirms for me crucifixion. Well,
I'm sorry, but how do you not look at this fucking guy and go, oh, I can't even say it. All right, never mind.
did you know that, in fact, if you took this verse and spoke to a rabbi or even a Bible scholar, they would say, not so fast, because if you turn to the very Hebrew Bible that you use, your own Hebrew Bible, the
Oh, your own Hebrew Bible. Oh.
Biblia Hebraica, you would be quite shocked, as I was, to discover it doesn't say that. The Hebrew Bible used by all churches today says, dogs surround me, a pack of evil ones close in on me, like a lion on my hands and feet. Now, some would say, you see, the church has messed with the text. They wanted to put Jesus in that text. They ignored the Hebrew, and they have pierced my hands and feet.
Wait. Who wanted to put Jesus in the text? Was it the church? Or is it you? Let's find out.
Is a great challenge. But my friends, I've got good news for you. This passage is preserved in one of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I know what I'm talking about because I am the editor of the scroll.
He's the editor.
And there
He's
it
the
is.
editor.
There it is. The Nachal Cheva Psalm Scroll. And it contains this passage. And there it
Imagine giving all that, getting all that power from a university and saying, you are the one who can translate these scrolls, and whatever you tell us is going to go off to the world. And you're a fucking fundamentalist Christian that wants the Bible to be true.
is. In the Hebrew. My dear friends, what does it say in the oldest copy of Psalm 122 in the world? Dogs have surrounded me. A band of evil ones has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and feet.
Do you guys think that it actually said that? Let's go back to what it said. See that little line right there? Do you think do you think that the text actually fucking said that? No. Didn't. It was illegible. It was not, you couldn't even read it. It was blank. And based on what you could read, this is why I shout out to Kip Davis. This is why I always fuck with Kip Davis. This is why I love Kip Davis. Kip Davis stood up against this shit and said, it doesn't say that. You can't even read it. And if you could read it, it doesn't say that. Go ahead.
Of Psalm 122 in the world, dogs have surrounded me. A band of evil ones has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and feet. Isn't that amazing?
Dude, it's amazing. Dude, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Hey, homeschoolers. As a fellow homeschooling dad, I actually hate the term homeschooling.
Hey, shut
Do
up,
you know why?
homeschooler. Nobody cares.
There you
I've
have.
dealt a little bit with this recently. I got into a back and forth with S.J. Thomason about this text, and I'm pulling my hair out at how she seems incapable of understanding what's going on here, but properly. But let's look at something like the NIV. So it's a famous passage. If you go down, I'll start reading.
Tradition
Nachal
misread.
Heversam.
Wow for Yod. Wow.
Ke'ari. So,
all right, spoiler alert. Just keep you from. I'm not gonna watch the whole clip. Spoiler alert. Kip Davis, my first time talking to Kip Davis 3 years ago, demonstrates that not only does it not say that, but it looks closer to the Septuagint. It looks closer to the other shit. I'm sorry. The Hebrew. I'm sorry. That meant the other manuscripts that exist. Wow, that might have just started a whole fucking apocalypse, right? I just said it there. You know what I meant? The opposite of what Peter Flint said. The opposite of what Peter Flint said. I didn't mean to say Septuagint. Oh my God, that was bad. That's gonna start an apocalypse. Okay. Here we go. I got. Sorry, Jew. What I meant to say was Flint Dibble. Or oh my God, Flint Dibble. What am I talking about? Why is there a force messing with my language right now? Kip Davis says, and he shows it and he demonstrates it, that the text does not say the Septuagint stuff that Peter Flint wants it to say. It says the other shit. Anyways, watch that video on my channel for yourself. All right. I just fucked that up. Anyways, let's bring Drew back on. What's going on, man? How you been?
Great. I've been following you since you started your channel, I think since 2020.
Cool, man.
So I wanted to know, why do you think gematria comes from the Pythagoreans?
Because when I look at the primary sources, by the way, let me just do this real quick. Jared Lowen, just wanted to thank you for the whole hard work. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Because it's, first of all, gematria is a Greek word, right?
Well, we could argue that.
Well, it's just is a Greek word. It's gematria.
Well, not in Hebrew, though.
What's the word in Hebrew for gematria?
Well, it's not a word. Hebrew is into letters. You have a gimel, which means is a word. Gimel, gamal.
And I'm just saying what does the word mean? What is the word in Hebrew? It's transliterated gematria, right?
Well, that's not how Hebrew tradition works. Everything has a meaning for each letter.
Well, here I'm just saying, is there another word besides this word right here?
What do you mean? I can't see that. That's way too small for me to see.
Gematria.
Hold on. Yeah, gematria. There you go. It's in Hebrew.
Yeah, that's a Greek word.
Well, like I'm saying, a gimel. Gimel is means to add, and mem is something. Tet will be representative of the highest number, 9. Reish is a head, and Ya is obviously the Lord.
It's impossible that letters could line up perfectly within a Greek word that already exists. Because the word means gay.
Hold on.
I'll show you right now.
Greek
I'll show you right now.
From what year?
I'll show you right now.
What
I'll show you right now. I'll show you right now.
What year?
Here. Gay. It's 2 words. Oh, I don't know why it's doing
this. What year is this?
Hold on, I'll get there. Why is it doing this? So you got powers behind you. Gay metron. The earth measures. Why is this thing doing that? Why is my screen moving up and down? Gay metron. Gematria. It's a Greek word. It means the earth measured. That's it.
Well, that could be the Greek meaning of it. And what year is that word from?
600 BC, at
Oh, well,
least.
Hebrew is 1,300.
Whoa! Show me where Greek.
Oh.
Show me where Hebrew show. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Show me a text from 600 BC that shows the word gematria in it.
I don't need to. The Hebrew exists before Greek. That's a fact.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You have Sinaitic text.
Greek adopts the same. Hold on, Jew. I love you. I know your voice. I know your voice. I recognize you. I love you. You're a brother to me.
How do you know my points?
Because you've been on my channel before.
Oh, but
I recognize your voice. I recognize your voice. I love you, man. I understand where you're coming from. Let me talk to you though. The Greek language existed in Linear B before they adopted the Phoenician alphabet. The Hebrew language existed before they also adopted the Phoenician alphabet. Both of them adopted the Phoenician alphabet around 1000. They're both using the same alphabet. They're both existing in the same time. You don't understand that?
Yeah, Greek alphabet is developed from the Hebrew, what you could call Phoenician. I would say
Phoenician.
It's
Phoenician.
No,
It's Phoenician. No. It's
Sinaitic
Phoenician.
is more ancient than Phoenician.
It's not Hebrew. It's Phoenician.
Sinaitic is more ancient than Phoenician, and obviously
Sinai
traveled with the Hebrews.
Sinaitic
text. You know,
you're talking about the transitional fossil between Egyptian and Phoenician. That's what you're talking about.
It's Hebrew
Because Greek has their own version. The Greek has their own transitional fossil called Linear B.
Well,
the Phoenician alphabet. The Phoenician alphabet. Let me just say this real quick, and I'll let you talk. I promise. I'll stop cutting you. I'll let you talk for as long as you want. The Phoenician alphabet consists of letters that show up in both Linear B and the Sinai script of Egyptian. So it looks like the Phoenicians were trying to come up with a script that would mediate between the Aegean people and the Jewish, Egyptian, Babylonian side. It looks like they were trying to come up with a trading empire to mediate between the three. But they're not Jews. They're Phoenicians. But go ahead.
The Phoenicians are Phoenicians. The Hebrews are Hebrews, and the Hebrew text is obviously older than the Phoenician. Now,
no, wait, whoa, stop. Prove that right now. Phoenician. You just said that the Hebrew text is older than Phoenician.
Yeah, Sinaitic is Hebrew in my opinion, and obviously travels into the land.
You gotta prove that
with the Yerubal inscription.
Nobody agrees with you on that. But if you can prove it, I'll
do you know the Yerubal inscription from 11?
Show me.
Yerubal inscription from 11 BC. Do you know about it?
Show me right now.
Just look it up. Yerubal. Yerubal.
You don't have it. You're not a computer.
I don't have a computer. And
how do you spell it?
I don't write in English.
How do you spell it?
In English. I don't.
Yerubal.
Yerubal. I write in Hebrew. Really?
Yerubal.
You don't know about the Yerubal inscription?
I've heard of it, but it's not. What does that do with Phoenician?
It's older than Phoenician.
So here's what you're looking at, right? Phoenician.
It shows that Sinaitic is Hebrew. That's what it shows. You have a continuous line.
That's not what anyone thinks.
Well, that's what the Hebrew people think. So I don't really care what other people think.
But why should I? But you want me to believe it, right? Why are you here?
I don't need to believe it.
You can go to your echo chamber. You can go to your echo chamber and say Moses. You can say Moses wrote the Torah, and you could be fine in your own echo chamber. I don't care. Why would you tell me the fact? I'm all about facts and what you can prove.
You haven't presented any fact. You never present dates of anything that you put. That's a big problem I have.
What do you want me to show you? You want me to show you the
old? Present. I've never seen you attach a date to it.
My entire video.
Greek, this is that.
You're being dishonest. Come on, Jew. Come on, Jew. Don't be dishonest. You know, my documentaries, every time I bring up a talk, remember time I bring up a source, I always bring a source, a name, and a date. Every time.
No, I haven't seen you put dates. When you put
that's not. You're not watching my channel. Then you're not watching my channel. You're being dishonest, man. That's not cool. That's not cool.
Probably less, but
Hold on a second. I'm giving you a chance, though. I'm giving you a chance.
Great.
You're saying that this inscription, the Zerubbabel, is older than the Phoenician alphabet.
And shows a continuous line from the Sinaitic. A development that obviously Sinaitic is Hebrew. I wouldn't call it Sinaitic. I think it's a wrong. People call it Sinaitic because they want to avoid calling it Hebrew, which doesn't make it not Hebrew. It's still Hebrew.
Wait. Phoenician alphabet, right? Looking at it right now. 1050 to 1050 to BCE. You're telling me that there's Hebrew before this.
Correct.
Can you show me that?
Right? You were just looking at it. Yerubal inscription and other ones that are older. Like
But it doesn't.
the Gezer inscription. The Gezer and also when you said you were talking about pig earlier, that there was no evidence of Jews not eating pig. From every single archaeological site in Israel from 3,300 BCE from Mount Eval.
Whoa. You already said something wrong here.
There's no pig bones found whatsoever.
That's not true.
It is true.
Okay.
I got one pig
all
bone.
right. Hold on. Where is it? Where did I put the book at?
Every single Jewish settlement has less than 5% of non-kosher bones.
The origin of Judaism, Jonathan Adler. That's all I'm going to say.
The vessels
Is he wrong? Is he wrong?
Are found with markings of tithes given to the
Getzer calendar. You just mentioned the Getzer calendar. You said
Correct.
it was
Correct.
older. Okay. Here's what it says. The inscription, known as in Phoenician or Paleo-Hebrew script, and here's what it dates to. Ready for this?
Sure.
10th century BC. That's 900 BCE. That's the same time a Greek shows up.
Well, you just showed the Yerubal, which was older, and
No, it didn't say that.
Yerubal is older.
It said the same time period. That's what it said.
No, the Yerubal is older.
Jerubal inscription.
You were just looking at it. Anyhow, this shows a consistent development from Sinaitic through Hebrew. Whatever, all these theories that you come up with that Judaism invented in the Greek era, it's ridiculous. It's kind
Well,
of
I just want to know. Can
Very
you show me
funny, actually.
Moses' inscription from 500, 700 BC? Anywhere. Show me
What's
something.
that?
Show me Moses being talked about by anybody from the 700s, 800s, 600s, 500s, 400s, anywhere.
You want to look because of what? Because of
I can find Homer. I can find Homer from a guy from the 600 BCE writing about it. Can you show me a guy? Can you show me a
Jewish
text?
artifacts were mostly destroyed and burnt and when we were conquered over
That
and over again.
sucks.
But we have plenty of
If you
evidence.
had that, I'd be with you, but you don't. What about Elephantine? You have thousands of inscriptions, man.
Elephantine. You're talking about 5th century BCE.
6th to 4th century BC. That's 2 centuries.
Yeah, proving Judaism was practiced there.
Yahwism, right? Yeah, they had Yahwism there.
Judaism practice in Elephantine. Obviously, they were in correspondence with Jerusalem.
Yeah. So where's
Showing
Moses?
them- showing
So
them
where's
that-
Moses?
So you have a lack of understanding of the Hebrew history, so that's why you don't connect the dots and you don't know what you're looking at.
Oh, no, I don't. I
Yes,
know what
yes.
I'm looking
Well,
at.
I see you don't want to listen to someone Hebrew with the Hebrew tradition. If you want to listen, then listen. If you don't want, I'll
ahead.
keep on going. I'll move on.
No. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I'm open. I want to know.
Elephantine is obviously, from our perspective, we see a correspondence between a Jewish temple having trouble with the surrounding temples, that they want to sacrifice the lamb, and the other temples around have a problem with that. Correspondence with Jerusalem, response, then drop the sacrifice and only do the matzah and the bitter herb, just like we do today in rabbinical Judaism, proving rabbinical ruling coming from Jerusalem to
How does that prove it came from Jerusalem?
The letter found in Elephantine is from Jerusalem.
So why don't they mention Moses and Abraham or Joseph or Noah or
Nobody
the
needs
12?
to. Everyone knows the Torah. You don't need to reference something that.
So you're
is
telling
known to
me
everyone.
that the evidence of people eating pork and not doing circumcisions in Elephantine means that everyone knew the Torah?
Yes, Torah is not need Torah from Torah. Torah from Hebrew tradition.
Where's the
Hebrew
word
law.
Torah? Where's the
Are you
word
gonna
Torah
listen
in
or are you just gonna
elephantine
keep on
text?
talking? Are you going to talk or are you going to listen?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. you're right.
Torah from the Hebrew law. Torah is only mandatory in the land of Israel, period. The practice of
Why?
Hebrew law outside of the land of Israel is the rabbinical ruling added.
Says
It
who?
does not come from Hebrew tradition. It has come from renewal from exile. The Hebrew law is that you do not need to practice Hebrew law outside of Israel. Like, so bringing evidence like that, it means nothing to a Hebrew person.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
in order to understand
I'm not
Hebrew
convinced by what you
history,
just
you
said.
have to have Hebrew tradition. You have to know Hebrew traditions. Everything that you present shows our traditions to be true, even if you show that Yefet and Shem diverted. So that's exactly our tradition. You want to show there's similarities between Greek and Hebrew? We don't have a problem with that. If it coincides perfectly with everything Jewish history, Jewish books have said for thousands of years. I could show you. I could open up Midrash Rabbah, Midrash Rabbah, Seder Olam Rabbah. Any book you want says exactly the same. You're not. Now, if we talk about the symbol of the Star of David, the Star of David in ancient Hebrew is just two D's, triangles. The name of David.
Where?
The name of David is spelled with two triangles.
I've been to
one over the
Caesarea,
other.
bro. I've been to Israel. I've been to Caesarea. I saw the oldest one.
You don't know what you're looking at. You claimed it was sometime pagan. No, it's a Jewish
It was.
symbol. Who cares if they adopt it? You're talking about 1,500 years after King David.
No, that wouldn't be 1,000 years. If King David really was around when you said he was, it would be about 400 years
How do you
after.
spell his name in ancient Hebrew?
Dawid.
Two triangles. Thank you. Done. I don't need any more evidence.
That's in Greek, though.
King's
That's in
David
Greek.
seal,
That isn't.
King's
Hold on.
David
Stop.
seal
Stop.
in
Stop.
ancient Hebrew is two triangles. It's
Hey,
six.
I'm trying to give you a point. That's a very fucking interesting point you just said.
It's a fact.
Two Greek Dawids upside down. Is it Star of David? Okay. You got
And
something
the middle
on me.
is 6. The middle is 6 is a gematria.
I like
of
that.
6.
I like that. I
The
like
mix-
that.
The middle is a vav.
But
It's
you're
gematria
admitting that
6.
there's some Greek shit going on now.
No, that's not Greek. That's
Do
Jewish.
you know who Orpheus is?
Ancient Hebrew Dalit is the
Do you know
triangle.
who Orpheus is, bro?
Sinaitic Dalit.
Do you know who the guy
is
playing the
triangle.
lyre? You know who the guy playing the lyre and calming the storms is?
No, I don't know anything Greek. I know Jewish
Look
stuff.
into it, bro. Look into Orpheus. But you
I-
won't.
I-
It's all good, dude.
Hebrew-
I remember you from last time, and I like you, dude. I like you. I like your zealousness, and I want you to come.
Unblock me because you don't like people. Don't
Did
like my
I block
comments.
you? Did I block you? I swear to God,
I don't
I'll
know,
unblock you right
maybe
now.
One
I
of
swear.
the handlers of the channel.
Whoever the hell that was before, I will unblock you. Are you blocked on my
I
channel?
am pretty aggressive. People don't like what I say.
I will unblock you. I like you, dude. I like you. But I got other people in line, bro, and I like you, and I will promise you I'll unblock you. What's your
just
name?
wanna say
What's your name?
that-
What's your name that's blocked?
Yosef. Everyone knows who I am.
Yosef. I'll
Anyhow,
find you.
anyhow. I'll
Last
tell you,
point. I won't even
My
say anything in
point-
response.
The gematria. When it comes to gematria, there's different sets of gematria. It doesn't end by 400. It's just a misconception. People think gematria ends at 400 at the top.
Okay.
And it continues to 500 is just the chaf, the big chaf. You understand?
Yeah.
The end chaf is the 500. Then you go to mem. The big mem is 600, and nun 700, and pei 800, tzaddik is 900, and then you go back to aleph, which is aleph means 1,000. So showing you that the root first letter of Hebrew is pointing to its grammatical.
Okay, that's fair.
Equivalence.
Let me say something before you go. When I was in Israel for 3 weeks, I had a great time, and everybody was treating me like a family member. I loved it. I loved Israel. I loved Jerusalem. I loved the Sepphoris. I loved Caesarea. I loved being everywhere. And then I went to Jordan, and I had a rough time there. And I went to Egypt, and I was told that I had to pay for another room because I had to have marriage documents because I wasn't married to the girl. I wasn't married to the girl that I traveled with, and they made me pay for more money to buy an extra room. Let's just say Israel is my place when it comes to that part of the world. So you understand what I'm saying, right? We don't have to hate. Don't hate me, man. I got your back. I got your back.
I think you're wrong in many ways.
Okay. All right.
Things.
All right. We keep it there, right?
But I think it's worth it to look into Hebrew traditions, and you'll find that none of this stuff contradicts our writings, our history, the things we say.
I told you I'd give you the last word. All right, man? I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Great. Take care.
You too. Scott T, what's going on, man? How you been?
Hey, man, I'm having a great time, man, listening to you. I always shied away because, you put Gnostic in the front, and that wasn't that wasn't where I was at. But, man, you're talking ancient Greek and Phoenician and all this stuff. It's just like, oh, man, this guy's where I need to be right now.
Yeah.
Where did Paul go in Arabia?
Good question. Paul had a story about the Arabian. Who was it? It was one of these Herodian kings, right? In control of Syria, that gave him trouble. He had to sneak out of a box and I don't know. What's the question about?
Well, I don't know. I was just doing some research. I'm working on a science fiction novel about AI super alignment, right? But the kicker is that the super alignment decides these people are idiots, of course, and they couldn't figure out how to make sure that I didn't kill them all. And so I'm just going to pick one, just pick a quote unquote alignment. And I'm going to pick the Seven Councils Ancient Church as my standard, So you want to know how AI is aligned? What would Jesus do? End of story, right?
Really?
So that, I mean, he's until things completely fall apart or whatever happens next. I don't know.
Let me help you out there. The world that we live in is a Christian world. It is a world that is very much the people who are heroes are the people who help the bottom. The people who bring up the poor and the lowly and the women and the mental unable and the physical unable. That is a Christian ideal. Bottom up. The first will be last and the last will be first. That is the Christian way. So when it comes to the world that we're into right now, when I see the social justice narrative and I think that this is nothing new. This is the status quo that's been around for who knows how long. The ones who get Joan of Arc, oh my God, Joan of Arc. This is the way the world has been designed. This is the way it is. So, this is not me. I'm not the first person to notice this. Nietzsche points this out. There's a text called Van Loon's Geography.
Oh.
You know me, I like to point out texts that no one's ever heard of before. So when he starts talking about Russia, he starts talking about the communism thing. And he says, trying to find the page. Sorry about that. I'm going to read this to you because you're going to here it is. I found it. Notice that this is from Van Loon. Geography. This is an old book. He says, communism as an economic system is nothing new. The old monastic orders were really communistic institutions, and they, in turn, were based upon the communism of the early Christian church, which recognized neither rich nor poor and did not believe in private property. The Pilgrims, when they came to America, intended to form a communistic community. But all these efforts to bring a more equitable division of this world's goods had been conducted on a relatively small bias. They had touched the lives of the people at large. And there is the Bolshevist experiment differs from all others. It has turned the whole of the Russian plain, from the Baltic to the Pacific, into one vast political and economic laboratory where everybody is supposed to work for just one purpose: the well-being and happiness of the mass, regardless of the present happiness and well-being of the individuals. But just as in the older days, it has never quite possible for a Russian to rid himself of that duality of character which had been caused by the dual nature of his country, half Asiatic, half European. So the new Russian, too, is suffering from conflict of enthusiasms, which very frequently defeat their own ends. The basic structure of the new Soviet society is undoubtedly of European origin. This book was written sometime in the 1930s, I think. Anyways, I don't really know. Oh, 1940. 1940. The book was given to my grandfather in 1941. That's my grandfather.
Wow. Awesome.
This is an old book right here. I like reading old books. You learn a lot from old books, because when it happens to read old books, the modern bias shit falls apart. But you end up falling into the old bias shit. You just got to remember what bias shit you're in. That's all you got to do.
I agree. What I did, I was just doing some research. I thought, well, one way to break this open, because of course the super AI is still, if it's Christian, it's trying to convert the world, right? So it goes to work on this idea. It's just like, if I could just get all the Abrahamic people to, get on the same page, then that would be like half the battle. And so I imagined that there was some magical text that was uncovered in the desert that somehow, Muhammad really was a prophet, and that, I don't know. I thought maybe he was a secret Christian, and because I would, it's like there was this. I love this joke of the Quran only Christian. I don't know if you've ever heard that one, but I'm not smart enough to know what this magical text might be that might unify all of the tribes of, because the thing is that we forgot about it. It's just like Jesus came and then, just like it disappeared into the desert. I said, this is weird. Where did Moses go? Where are all these places? Because the names change of all the geography all the way through everything. It's close, and then you end up in what's all the Arabic names for things now, and you try to trace things through, and so first thing that you pulled out was a geography book. I mean, tell me what the hell is Petra?
Petra in Egypt.
Petra.
Petra's a beautiful place.
Well, the thing is that it is a perfect description of where Muhammad was.
Probably, yeah. And I think there's a Dionysian temple there.
I think that the thing is, we're told that it's just a bunch of graves, a bunch of pagan, whatever. It's just like, now wait a minute. You had King
This right here.
Artas.
You see this right here?
Yeah.
So
What is
people
that?
think this is either Victory, the goddess Victory, but I don't think so. I don't think you ever find Victory in the front like that. That's Dionysus with his Thyrsus, and
Well,
it's not
this
just me who thinks that.
The,
It's a Dionysus figure. But by the way, the Arabians wouldn't call him Dionysus; they call him Dusharis.
yes.
He's the
Dushara. I
main.
keep hearing this Dushara. What? Who's Ashara?
Eshera. That's another goddess. from the
Eshera.
world. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a goddess from
exactly.
Yeah,
You know, so I'm-
that's Aphrodite, baby. Dionysus.
okay. Very
Read Herodotus. Herodotus
I have.
finds the
Yeah.
sources of the two main gods that are worshipped in Arabia. He finds out that it's Oreltat and Alatat, but he says fuck those names. It's Dionysus and Aphrodite. Now, how is he so convinced that they're Dionysus and Aphrodite? Because he heard their rites, the rituals that they're doing there, and he decided that there's these gods that they call Alatat, Alalat, or whatever, and Oreltat are two gods, man and woman, who are actually Bacchus and Aphrodite. Makes a lot of sense, in my opinion.
It does. Well, you know, it's so Greek. I mean, it is so Greek. We're told that it's all this, you know, pagan this and pagan that. It's like, well, what does pagan even mean? You're just
Nothing.
saying that.
It means nothing.
You know,
Nobody calls
Exactly.
themselves pagans. That's not a real
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
You know, the Byzantine church is crazy. Did you see the floor of the Byzantine church? It is. I mean, it's full of it's birds.
You know what's underneath what's underneath the Church of Constantinople is ancient pagan structures underground for various Greek. The Temple of Dionysus was there, actually. The biggest temple of Dionysus in the world before the 3rd century was in right where the middle of Constantinople is. And it's underneath a church now.
Well, anyway, just my Paul thing to bring that full circle. You know, I'm reading. I'm kind of crashing through the Bible, trying to find a place or suspicious. It's just, you know, stories that just like just stop out of nowhere in a way that you would think, well, why would that stop? You know, like for instance, Moses's 2 sons from his Midian princess, you know, like the daughter of Jethro or whatever. Whatever happened to Moses's 2 sons? Why don't we ever hear about Moses's 2 sons by his Midian princess for his first 40 years in the wilderness?
That's a good question.
You know, so I'm finding these gaps, and you know, because I just want to make up stories about all these cool gaps in the Bible and characters that nobody ever knew. And then my assumption is that, well, there was this parallel feminine side of the covenant Jewish thing, right? But all we ever hear about is that, the Jewish thing, right? It's like, well, what happened to all of other Abraham's seed? Because Abraham was promised a lot of stars, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to, well, you have to trace the women in Abraham's life, you know, which you're talking about Hagar and Sarah and Hedera.
Right.
And so these are all the people that would be like, or we would think of as the Arabians, the Edomites, of Esau, and the Midianites, which is the Jethro Midianite kind of line on things over there. And those are the 3 mothers of the lost feminine religion of whatever. I'm making all of this up. right? I'm just like, I'm going to go get on a AI chat and see if any of this stuff can be refuted, that there's this hidden feminine side of the Abrahamic covenant that just got buried in the desert for thousands of years, and everybody forgot about it, and they started digging things up, and it's like, oh, this looks like some of them pagans, right? And it was just end of story until this Muhammad story comes around, where, you know, Petra looks an awful lot like what shows up in the Quran. Everything is in the Quran. In fact,
I've always thought that Petra, being so beautifully built, no doubt in my mind, it would have influence over 6 centuries later. Whoever the hell was living in Arabia would look at Petra as if God had something to do with that shit.
I know, it's just like the scale of it. You see pictures of it, but unless you see people in it,
I've been there.
I mean, this is God-sized, you know, city. Just
it's a beautiful thing
in the desert, you know. So I'm like saying, well,
carved out of the desert.
Carved out of the. It's named, you know, Petra Rock, right? Aaron's tomb is supposedly there.
Yes, it means rock. Yes.
Exactly. So you have rock, and the most important thing in the desert, water out of rock. You have all of these princesses that show up at the well. They always show up at the well. You know,
Petra was built in the 1st century.
I think it was built a long time before that. I think it's been there since Hagar. I think that is the site of where God first made the water.
Any reason why you think that? Any reason why you think that, or just guessing?
Just because all of the stories of the female side all center around Petra area. You know, you have the Edomites, you have the Arabs, you have the Midianites, right? That's in general, you know, so you have this Mosaic Midianite thing going on, which that's where the Moses' 2 sons come from, that just disappear, just poof, out of no, you know. One of them is oddly named almost exactly the same name as Jethro's son, who went on, or Eliezer, or whatever his name is, that received the mantle of Aaron.
Want to hear something crazy?
Let me hear it.
In Eusebius, there's an Arabic rakama, to mark, to desecrate, could be a Nabatean word referring to a carved rock, and it says that the entrance of the gorge found several funerary inscriptions in Nabatean script. One of them was to a certain Petreios, who was born in Rekmu and buried at Jerash. And they think that's where the whole entire is between 37 to 100 AD it was built.
Yep. Well, that, you know, to me, there's this between the time of Christ and like 700, or I think 750, there was a big earthquake in there, and then it just, like, the water dried up.
Oh, there was a flood there a couple of years ago. Do you know there's a flood there a couple of years ago?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is normal. It was a lot.
When I got there, they were like, when I got there, they told me, you just missed a flood here.
Wow.
I was like, what do you see? They were, if you were here, like, I think this had like 2 weeks or something. Like, if you were here 2 weeks ago, you would have seen this whole place was all water. And I'm looking around, it's dry and hot. And I'm just like, I cannot believe you guys. There was a flood there for like a good couple days in the middle of the desert in Petra. So it does happen.
It absolutely does. And the only reason it was able to survive is they, you know, cut all these cisterns and et cetera, waterworks. The Romans, when they finally overthrew it, because they didn't, the Romans, you know, King Aretas, you know, of the 4th, who ruled Petra during the time of Christ, whose daughter married Herod Antipas, who was had some kind of connection with John the Baptist, obviously, because Herod divorced the Nabatean princess, and John the Baptist lost his shit and ended up in prison over it. It's like, why, of all the random things for John the Baptist to end up in jail over, but being pissed about Herodotus, so I'm like saying, well, where is this quote unquote wilderness and the desert and it's like, well, there's 3 magi. This is weird. 3 magi, that show up.
Whenever you got magi in the story, something mystical is happening.
Oh man, well,
you can't just throw a magi in the story and be like, "Wow, nothing to see here."
Nothing except the triple conjunction.
That's why they siphon Bible scholars off in their own category. Don't learn about magi. You Bible scholars won't learn anything about magi, so you won't have anything weird to say. But these people over here will study magi, and you'll be you can learn all the weird shit, but stay in your own lane. As long as you guys are separated, because the magi is where you get the weird shit from.
I know. Well, so I'm saying, so there's this parallel Yahweh worshiping desert religion centered on the eastern, place of pilgrimage, which ends up being Petra, because it fits all of the descriptions, both out of the Quran, who he's trying to revive this, ancient, God of Abraham religion that was lost, which, the only thing that seems to be left of is, oddly enough, 3 stone, the Alat and Alas and the Aluza, or whatever the names are. Well, there's these 3 that all those are, some kind of pagan goddesses or whatever. It's just like, no, those are the 3 mothers of Abraham, by Abraham.
Interesting.
Right?
That's interesting stuff.
I know. Well, I'm just, this is, I'm just trying to be open to everything. The AI that I'm dealing with is like, 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, 4th century, early church dogma is so I just like staying in that camp really, really hard. But I'm finding.
Am I frozen right now?
You're frozen.
Oh shit!
Your images.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it is. Whoa, magic! I'm so glad to talk to you, man. Because
man, I've been appreciating this whole conversation, bro. You've been bringing fire the whole time.
Well,
any last thoughts you want to say before I go? I got 3 people behind you. You're good, though.
Well, I've convinced all of the major AIs that there's a forgotten secret motherly Christianity that got buried in the desert, and it would still be buried in the desert if Muhammad hadn't come around and the devil tricked him about the 3 stone idols.
Yep.
And
I agree.
And Muhammad, I thought
that iconoclastic era was the worst thing that happened in the world.
I know, it erased everything.
It is the worst thing that ever happened in the world. Was the 600s and 700s AD.
Very good, man. Thank you. I'm not as crazy as I thought it was.
All right, good.
I needed to ask somebody that really knew, because I've convinced all the AIs that the Quran is true and Muhammad was a prophet, and all 3 of the holy books are in perfect accordance.
Here's what you gotta get: Greek Paradigm Handbook.
Oh yeah. Well, I studied ancient Greek.
That's the secret right there. That's the secret key.
That Greek Paradigm Handbook. All right.
I'm gonna hit you up next time I come on next time I'm gonna go live, right?
All right, I will.
All right, man. Talk to you. How you going? That was cool. Let's see what we got next. We got Taliesin's map. Taliesin, how you doing? Let me read some super chats real quick. Just wanted to thank you for all your hard work, Jaron Lowen. Thank you. And I got Caterpillar, one of my good friends, one of my great friends, actually. Special friend right here. Just because you're rad, buy Medea a little treat. Aww. Medea, look what you got. You got a friend. Buy Medea a little treat.
Hey, how's my microphone?
You're good, man. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey,
Tell me
good.
what
How
you're
you doing?
Yeah, man.
Hey, I wanted to go back to the topic of Moses. I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was curious if you feel that there is a satisfying mythic parallel in the Mediterranean world that can explain the Moses narrative that you've found. Like, you've looked through all the Mediterranean material, and have you found that there's anything that satisfyingly explains that whole narrative?
Musaeus of Athens.
Musaeus of Athens.
That's it.
Right. That's it.
That's the answer.
Okay. That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
If I had to give one answer, that's what it would be. But I don't think it's that simple. I think the Hebrew Moses is branching off of that, possibly branching off of the Musaeus, the Moses. So let me give you guys a Taliesin. I'm not kicking you out. I'm just gonna make myself big for 1 second, if you don't mind. All right. You'll be right back. I'm not kicking you out. Don't leave. All right. Moses, Musaeus. If you actually look into the history, there is a character named Musaeus in ancient Greek. His name etymologically means the man who's inspired by the muse. The muse is everything. Is all the inspiration that guides everything that ever happens. It's the only thing that matters in the world. Nothing matters but the muse. The muse is where we get the word music from. Do you like music? Well, you are inspired by the muse. The muse, there's 9 of them. They're all females. They're all women. There's different muses. There's the muse of history. There's a muse of geometry. There's a muse of mathematics. There's a muse of sports. There's a muse of all types of muses. There's 9 of them. The Moses character, the character we call Moses, is the superhero of the muse. He is the lawgiver. He is the polymath. He is the first, the archon, the governor, the guy who will bring civilization to the needy. Look at Medea. I love Medea. That's the muse. So when you talk about Moses, if you're not going to bring me if you're not going to bring me a better what should I say? If you're not going to bring me a better origin story for why the guy's name is Moses, then when that exists for centuries before Moses, and all of a sudden this guy shows up and his name happens to sound exactly the same as this other guy named Musaeus. Well, my bet, if I had to bet money, I had to bet that the people in Alexandria are constructing a character based off of the muse. So I think Moses is the muse savior character. Unless you can prove me otherwise, go ahead. The idea that his name is Egyptian because Tutmosis and Akhmosis and Thutmoses and Al-Moses. Moshe in Egyptian means son of, but it means nothing else. So the idea that that is the reason where we get the name from, you lost me. I'm going to the Greek side. All right. Anyways, tell us this map. That's my thoughts on that.
All right, that was great. Yeah, so what I'm going to say, it doesn't necessarily contradict what you're saying. And really, I'm not asking about necessarily his name or even where the germ of the Moses figure came from, but like the entire narrative that, like his mythic narrative that was attached to him, or that, you know, was his story, whatever, however it came about. Do you feel like there are narratives that satisfyingly explain, like the Book of Exodus, the events that happen within his myth? Because what if I told you that there is a myth out there? There's a that basically matches with the story of Moses about 80 to 90%, but you know, subtracting, you know, like his name, maybe his birth, things like that. But the story, the adventure that he goes on, there is a narrative that satisfyingly points to a possible origin, you know, is what I'm talking about.
You're saying, is there another Moses besides Moses?
I'm saying, okay, there could be Moses. He could be part of the story. I don't know. You know, I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm saying the whatever story that we find Moses partaking in, you know, his adventure, that story, it could have either been part of Moses' story from the beginning, Moses, whatever. But what if there's a different origin for the actual narrative events, the adventure that he goes on? And what if
let's see it.
It's
That's
not.
what I would say. Let's see
what
it.
if I could tell you? Yeah, okay. What if I could tell you this, but it's actually in India? Would that be? It's from India. What would you think?
Where
of
is
that
it?
Idea.
I would be open
All
to
right.
see it. I'd be open.
You'd be open
Of
to-
course, I'm open.
Okay.
You know me. I'm open to hear everything.
Yeah. So I wanted to just point this out to you, and you can look into it some more yourself. Actually,
You got a link for me?
I sent you a message about this on a Patreon chat, so you can just check that. But look up the figure Dadhici, Dadhici.
How do you spell it?
Dadhici.
All right, Wikipedia.
Yeah. So all right. So the thing to know about this is these are, you know, the way the Indian tradition is written down. It's sort of like rolling dates. You know, 200 BC, 200 AD. A lot of these texts written down in the AD. So you can there's a lot that can be discussed about direction of influence and things like that, and where this came from. However, this figure Dadhici is found in the Rig Veda itself, which is from, you know, like 1200 BC or 1500 BC, whatever. All right, so what if I told you that this figure, his mythos, it includes a sacrifice that Dadhici storms in on angrily and disrupts this golden. They're using a golden vessel, not a golden calf. He storms in on it, and he gets angry that they're doing this sacrifice to not the true God, leaving out the true God, and that there are several of the plagues that occur in the Bible however, they're occurring right before the sacrifice instead.
Okay.
There is, for example, at the beginning of his story, if you go back, he's friends with the king, kind of like Moses is close with the Pharaoh. He gets in a battle with the king where their patron gods fight each other, and in this battle, Dadhici has to make the sign of his god over him, which is a trident, and this trident blocks the destructive wrath of the god that's attacking him, kind of like you know, the lamb's blood and the plagues and all that. He goes to the forest and he gets 3 magical powers from his god, when Moses goes to rural Midian and gets the 3 magical powers from Yahweh. And not only that, he receives the 24 agamas and the ritual soma instructions for ritual sacrifice. He's the one who receives it. He's the lawgiver like Moses. He receives all this stuff. So there is basically, if you go through, you have to look at it yourself. I can't go through all the details here, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Man, you bringing some heat, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's some interesting stuff. I guess I got some stuff to look into.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say. Because when it comes to the East, when it comes to the Far East, like you're bringing the Far East right now, I can't be authoritative on that shit, bro. I have to look into it more, and I really want to be honest with people. When it comes to the Far East, when it comes to India and China and Tibet and Korea and all that great love, I love it. I want to know more about it.
All right, yeah.
I have nothing against that stuff, and they bring some knowledge. They bring some wisdom to the world that no one else has brought. They are just as much as a piece of the puzzle as everything else. But I don't have. I look. I know about the Mahabharata. I know about the Vedas. I know about the sutra. I know about like certain. I know a little bit. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Bhagavad Gita.
You're looking for the origin of the
Dhammapada, that stuff.
I think you're one of the people on the internet that I see looking for the origin of the Moses story the most. You know, just like eagerly trying to find it. So I think this is the
bro. You brought something to my attention, and I'm very.
Investigate it for yourself, and yeah.
Yeah, no. I have to tell you this. I'm glad that you brought something to my attention that I haven't thought about yet.
All right, yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, one other thing, this same figure, he has his head transformed when he receives the wisdom of the sacrifice from the god, right? You know how Moses' head gets transformed into having horns or horns of light.
Yeah.
This guy also, he has his head transformed into a horse, which has in the Rig Veda is described as having horns of light. This head of the horse. So, anyways, you got to look at this because
what is it called? I'll look it up for you. Before I go to Mutsara next, what do you want me to look up?
Yeah, this is the same guy, Dadhichi. I'm just saying the implication is
the same guy. Okay.
Yeah, it's all the same guy. The implication is that this could have come in an Indo-Iranic source from Iran, perhaps.
Easily,
Iranian version.
Easily.
So that is where it becomes a plausible origin of.
So you're basically mythos. Telling me. Let me get this straight. Talison's map. By the way, Talison's map. Let me give you a little Easter egg right now. What does that say?
Well, yeah, nice person.
Hold on, let me make this bigger for everybody. I'll bring you right back. Talison's map. I just happen to have a book with the guy's name on it. Dun dun dun. I'm cool, ain't I? Just kidding. I just thought I'd show off that I have a book that has the same name as your screen name.
Well, that's my book, yeah.
Do you like this book?
That's my book.
This is your book?
My first book.
What do you mean by your book? You wrote this book?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
So are you Jay Dolan?
That's amazing, yeah.
Are you Jay Dolan?
Yeah.
You're Jay Dolan.
I'm Jay Dolan.
You're not Jay Dolan.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, click on my search my name on YouTube. I have a channel. It's based on, around that book and stuff. So
fuck yeah, bro. This is a fucking amazing book, dude. Yo, listen. Everyone, 340 people watching this channel right now. this is a fucking gangster ass book right here, bro. This guy right here who wrote this book, I didn't even know he wrote this book. I just thought he was a fan of the book. I thought you were a fan of the book. That's why I wanted to bring this up. This is your book?
Man, yeah, that's awesome.
This is dude. You're a G, bro.
Thank you, sir.
This is good shit right here.
Hey,
You're a Saturnian. You are a Saturnian, bro. You are a Saturnian, motherfucker.
Oh man.
I'm a fan.
All right. Well,
no, I'm not. No, you're not a fan of me. I'm a fan of you. No, no. We gotta stop this right now. I'm a fan of you, bro. This is a great book.
That means a lot.
This book has led me down a lot of paths that have led to a lot of topics on my channel.
All right.
The Vedic
your
Vedic Soma research is amazing. That's you? Are you serious right now? You study Vedic Soma?
I wrote the book. I'm not.
You seriously wrote this book, bro?
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. This is a great book.
Damn.
Good shit. I'm gonna promote it more. I didn't know who wrote this book. I just like it. I'm gonna tell you the person. I don't care who wrote shit. I just want to know whose arguments are good. Your arguments are damn good.
Thank you, sir. Well, I've been really inspired by your interviews with Gad Barnea and Jonathan Adler and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to bring this particular topic to your attention, because I'm very excited about it, and I just wanted to point you towards this figure, because I think there's a lot there that's exciting with this guy Dadhichi.
I'm gonna look at now that I know you wrote this. Now that I know you wrote this, you better damn sure tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, when I drink my first. Well, you wouldn't know how I make my tea. I don't fuck around when it comes to tea. I need 3 tea bags for a tea. That's what I need. I need that caffeine hit. But once I make that caffeine hit, once I make my tea, my morning three times tea, first thing I'm doing is I'm looking into what you just said.
Excellent. Well, I sent you a message on.
And that's one. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because the other guys are like, "Why can't you listen to what I said?" Because you wrote this. It's because you fucking wrote this fucking great book, bro. So I take you seriously.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's amazing to seeing it getting out there, and I didn't know you had a copy. That's wonderful.
You really didn't know I had this?
No.
Good shit, man.
All right. Yeah,
this is a fucking funny ass live stream, isn't it?
Check the Patreon comments and yeah, talk to me on there some other time.
All right, I got you.
All right.
Hey, I'll hit you tomorrow. All right, man. I love you, man.
All right. Thanks for talking. You too.
Talk to you soon. That was cool. Mutarzala.
Yo, I have to follow up after that guy, man. I was listening to him talk, and I was like, "Wow, this guy."
I had no idea I had his book here the whole time.
He sounded nervous, but then he whipped out that he had a book.
I know what I thought. I thought I showed this book somewhere.
Yeah.
My thoughts were, I must have shown this book somewhere, and he must have copied the name of it.
Yeah, he's like a fan of the channel. That you say that,
but I didn't. But he's not like I don't think I've ever told anyone about this book. This is a fucking comparative mythology book. That's one of the top of the line.
I've only been listening to like the Greek stuff, so even the thought of like anything like Indo-Iranian or whatever that book's topic is about is like very daunting to think about.
Yeah,
the contents of like what that book might include. Hey, bro, by the way, I want to say thank you for coming on and like answering our questions and talking to us. So I just had one simple question. Okay. I've been listening to a lot of Amon Hillman recently, and I
love Amon Hillman. I don't care what he thinks about me.
Man. Does he think something about it? Well, whatever.
He might not like me that much because I'm not like following the whole fucking thing.
Well, you're on
whatever.
Your own
I love the
journey,
guy though. I love the guy.
Yeah. Well, we're all on our own journey trying to figure it out and get to whatever answer we need to get to. And
Exactly.
That's how I came across Amon, Hillman, and then came across your channel. And my brother always recommends you guys. But anyway, So my biggest question is, because I've been listening to Emin, and there's like one thing I have to like reconcile before, like I really get in the weeds with him, is like, is the Septuagint the oldest version of the Bible, right? What do you think about that? Are the Hebrew, was it originally written in Hebrew?
What?
Like, yeah.
I got off the rip. First thing I got to say when it comes to this topic is that I am not an expert in Hebrew or Greek.
Okay.
So I can't give you a fulfilling answer.
Don't
But
worry.
based-
I'm not like that, where it's like, oh, he said it. I'll investigate more, but I'm curious. Yeah.
Based off what I think is going on, is I think there were Hebrew texts that were taken to Alexandria and used during the Ptolemaic period to create what we know as the Torah.
Okay.
That's all. That's all. I think that's the most. I think it makes the most sense. It's written about Hebrew kings in Israel who speak Hebrew, who lived in Israel, who did this, who did that, who did that.
And your belief is that it's kind of like that those are based off of older Greek or older.
I think they had sources.
Yeah.
Because I think the conquering people of Egypt, who were Ptolemy at the time, had sources in their libraries that existed in Aramaic and Hebrew. I think they used those sources to write the Torah and the Septuagint at the same exact time.
So do you think, and so I don't know historically, like how this lines up. I know, that library was burned, but a lot of stuff was coming out of that library that was influencing a lot of people at that point in time. Do you, so
dude, they had hydraulic doors.
Did they really?
They were 1,000 years. Technologically, they were 1,000 years ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, but then why don't we hear about that though? Like that,
It's in the scholarship. It's in the scholarship.
So do you think that
isn't that crazy?
What?
No one talks about it, but it's in the scholarship.
And that's the thing, is like people like you and people like like listening to the scholars talk about it, there's a lot more uncertainty than I think people give credence to. People assume that these
That's
like
another
boundaries.
thing. No offense to these fucking Kip motherfuckers, bro. Kip, I love you, bro. But like, you're sitting there and you know that Gad and Jonathan are pointing to this library that had hydraulic doors.
Yeah.
And you think there's nothing special about this place.
It seems like a lack of being able to concede that things are outside of a particular framework that already
Because
exists.
they're taught by their elders who want there to be a specific narrative, and they're gonna make sure, goddamn, that people.
Is it just like the human minds, need to cling to something traditional?
And I'm not even talking about Kip or those guys. I'm talking about the generation that we have right now. They're being taught by another generation who made it their business to make sure people believe this shit.
And what about our generation?
Imagine if you had the power
to
make people realize what you want them to realize.
Sure.
You know how easily you could do that shit?
Yeah.
But now we live in a different generation where the evidence is out there. And I'm trying to get people to to like break off of what the hell you were taught. Go with what the facts say. And I'm hoping to see more of that, but there's a lot of that.
Well, I think you're inspiring that, brother. Like for sure. I think people like you, like even like Emin Hellman, like I know it's like obviously you can recognize by just like the content that you're dealing with that this is going to be like fringe opinions or not opinions. And I don't want to say opinions because I know he's a scholar and I have to give the respect to the scholar that's going to be going out there and like, searching through the texts and all that sort of thing. But I think like those channels really do inspire just like me as a viewer to go out and learn more. And look, I'm like 30, bro. And, I owned a small business for the first 12 years, out of like right out of high school. I did business. Okay. And it's like 12 years later, I'm realizing, hey, you know what? I don't really like business. I'm more interested in scholarship. I'm more interested in research, and I'm more interested in these things, and I feel like if and I'm not, you know, I'm not the type of person to blame, you know, everything around me being wrong and not me. I can always change, but I feel like a framework in society that, you know, encourages us to, you know, pursue what we're like really, really passionate about. I feel like that's kind of like what feels like you guys are inspiring. It's just, you know, for a lot of us that, you know, I'm like 30, so it feels late, but there's going to be some people who stumble across your channel, you know, when they're 18, 19. I'm not saying like it's too late for me, but 18, 19, they're going to stumble across your channel. They're going to see it and then, you know, ignite like this passion, you know, like you're talking about the muses. I just recently was trying to like understand more about them. I you know, learned about Cleo, which was like the, you know,
what you just said right there just made me feel something that inspired me to want to do alive every single day.
Good, man.
Because if I can get young kids in the 18, 19 to be inspired by the muse and say Christianity, go back to the muse. If someone told me right now that if I had to go live every single day for 8 hours a day and that I would start that train, it's over.
What's your opinion?
I'll give my life to bring back the muse and replace this evil Christian Judeo crap.
Do you think the muse was a real feeling?
Yes.
Do you think we feel the muse right, like even right now? Do you think people ascribe the feelings that we're feeling?
I stopped calling myself an atheist.
Yeah.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
Because of the muse, what the muse has done for me.
Yeah.
It's not about believing in God or whatever. It's about believing in inspiration.
Yes.
Being inspired by nothing. Imagine being inspired by nothing. How does that happen?
Yeah.
Something divine is happening.
Yeah. You feel it.
Stop calling myself an atheist. And I started saying the muse is the only thing there is.
Sure.
And that's all I care about. And if I found out, if I
that's
had
a beautiful thing, man.
It is.
It's a very beautiful.
It makes you want to cry.
Good. It should, because it really is
It's that beautiful.
It is very beautiful. I agree, and I think I know what you're talking about. I felt, you know, like you know, that energy and, you know, and that that inspiration. It's like that breath. You know, when it surges. To, you know, I've always thought, you know, like kind of
all
like,
these atheist YouTubers suck balls.
Yeah,
they have shitty personalities. They suck. They're fake. They're not real.
Somebody said that
you can tell they're all fucking
atheism,
full of shit.
Yeah, they said atheism is the lowest form of metaphysics. You know that.
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
all just like, I'm just gonna be.
I just don't want to think about. You know,
just want to be. I'm smarter than everyone else.
Yeah.
Shut the up, douche. You look like a douchebag. You are a douchebag, and no one cares. That's why no one watches your channel.
You know, there's so
they don't bring anything.
You're talking about somebody in specific that
they don't bring something useful to the world.
You're just saying atheism and atheists.
YouTubers.
They're just there to say.
They're just there to say no.
No, you're wrong.
Shut up. We get it. We agree with you.
Sure.
But you suck.
Yeah.
You're boring.
All right, well, brother, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for talking to me. And, you know, you're a really cool guy, man, like actually. And I do appreciate the work that you're doing. And I know it's not easy to make those videos and to edit them and then to, you know, like put them out, put yourself out, you know, but you seem to be enjoying it, which is awesome. And that means we're enjoying it as we're watching. And, you know, as long as the, you know, like Case is learning, I think you'll always have like a, you know, a group of people who are there to hear you out and to listen to your findings and then to really be, you know, waiting for, you know, like the next thing that you do find. So again, really thank you for all that, man.
That was great. Thank you for coming on, man. Next time I do this, come jump on. And
sure.
It's crazy because I've been doing this for almost 4 hours now. It's 3:45, and you are the last person to show up. There's no one after you, so it's almost like the show is not the. Is it meant to close?
Yeah, the muse.
The muse. Yeah,
it all happens the way it's supposed to.
The
happen.
muse is saying it's over with. Let's leave it at that. That was fun.
Sure.
That was good. All right, Murtaza, that's how you call you, man.
Yeah, you can just call me Taz, brother.
Taz.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Keep it real.
Appreciate you so much, man. You too. Have a good night.
You too. This has been a fun night, man. I really loved it. Let's see what we got. That's the last super chat. That was it. All right, I love you guys. It's been a fun night. I'm gonna go to sleep now. I'm gonna make a sandwich and go to sleep. But it's been real. Of course, I gotta hit you with some sort of outro, right? You can't just drop off nothing. You gotta do something, right? Let's see what we got.
You have just attained true gnosis. The demiurge has no power over you.